Hello, I'm Eagle Gardens 1 on Instagram. And this is fucking talking shit with Eagle, episode 529. Hopefully, you guys have had a great day and gonna have a great night. Of course, we've got the Miranda brothers in the house. Jeremiah Miranda is doing his episode, otherwise known as Tilasoil on Instagram. How you doing, my friend? You want to tell us how you're doing and where we can find you guys?
Yeah, I'm doing good tonight. Thank you for having us on the show. You can find me on Instagram at Tilasoil, or I also have a YouTube channel. It's mostly for programming and game stuff, but that's Smiley Face Studios.
And I'm Seth Miranda Family Farms. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on YouTube, Miranda Family Farms.
Appreciate you guys taking the time to hang out tonight. What do you guys, hopefully you guys have brought in something to smoke on while we talk this evening. What do you guys bring to the table tonight?
That's a good question. I didn't think about that, but I did bring some stuff.
Oh, I brought stuff, all right. Oh, I got stuff.
Miranda Family Farms got the stuff. Let's see what I got here.
This is two soups.
Two scoops?
Two soups. This is a zinger crossed with peanut butter and jelly. My own creation. This shit's like rock hard bud, super frosty. And it comes with this zinger's strawberry flavor in it. Really good.
Got a little Elon's Musk here. It's probably what I'll smoke tonight.
With a name like Elon Musk, is it a real heady strain? That's what I would think.
It's kind of, for me, it's kind of like a night. It puts me to sleep. I have I see. That's the thing with certain strains. If like I get like sometimes I get anxiety from certain strains, so I got to be really careful what I smoke. That's why I typically only smoke what's out of my garden. But Elon's Musk, yeah, it's a good nighttime med for me.
That was a fan favorite over here. People that was at that last weekend's event was still asking about that, and I haven't had that since the spring. So it's definitely a smash hit.
Well, don't go too deep on the Elon Musk if it's one of your night weeds. So what kind of cannabis gives you the anxiety? I get it from certain strains too, but I'm curious to know what kind of cannabis brings it on for you.
It really depends. Like I kind of stay away from dispensaries a lot because I find it's really a hit or miss. And it doesn't matter if it's labeled as an indica or hybrid or sativa, like it really doesn't matter. Some sativas are fine with me. But I think it's just maybe like if they're underdeveloped on the trichomes, you know what I mean? I grow all my own meds pretty much. So I just grow them out a little longer. I go a little more amber and I don't have nearly as much of an issue. But so it's not really, I don't know. So it's kind of like a gamble with me if I'm going to go to the dispensary. So I kind of just try and stay away and just keep my own personal stash that I grew. I've never really had any issues with my own grows. But like I said, I grow them a little longer. I give them like, a little bit more amber on the trichomes for me. But yeah, it's kind of random. I guess it depends on also what kind of mood I'm in. Like if I'm having an anxious day and I smoke, like it can trigger it right off the bat. But
For me, it's the peppery strains. The peppery strains or a green version of a purple strain. There you can have like purples and greens of the same strain. And if I get a green strain of a perp, that one gives me anxiety. But other than that, definitely like anything that tastes peppery kind of gives me puts me on anxiety level.
Yeah, I don't know when this anxiety thing happened because, I've been smoking for many years and never really had an issue. And then one day, just all of a sudden, and never really pinpointed what was causing it. And it kind of put a strain on me being able to smoke because it's kind of my medicine. It helps me most of the time. But you get that one bad strain, or maybe it's just underdeveloped or something. And yeah, the anxiety can really ruin it. And try to wash it off in the shower. Hopefully, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I've had those times where it was bad, like feel like your heart's going crazy and you can't think. Yeah, so I typically like to keep my own garden because I tailor my garden to what I know is good for me. I stick to a lot of indicas mostly. If I go hybrid, I do like sativa, but get nervous of them sometimes. Definitely get nervous of sativas, but I've smoked 80% sativa and been fine out of my own garden. Um, what was it? Hazy margarita. I think that was 80% sativa, and I had no issues coming out of my garden. But like I said, I just grew out the trichomes a little darker, and it was fine.
Like to find out what that is because I got to tell you, brother, you're definitely not alone on that. It came in overnight type thing. My tattoo guy, same thing. He told me, man, I used to smoke all kinds of weed back in the day, and now he won't even touch the shit. He's just flat out, that shit fucking sets me right off, man. I can't do it. And I've heard that story from a few people. One bad incident, or like you said, it just kind of came on overnight. It spoiled, cannabis use for a few people. It'd be nice. I would like to kind of figure that out myself, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it was a period of time where I didn't smoke nearly as much because I was almost afraid of it. But you know, I mean, definitely getting a tolerance to it helps because when I first started smoking again after a few years of not smoking, like, and I was just super scared. It took a minute to get a tolerance up, but the problem persists, but it's kind of random. For the most part now, it's just like hit or miss. Typically, dispensary weeds is what I get nervous about because you don't really know how it was handled or grown or if it was organic or what they're doing behind the scenes. And sometimes they might just pull a plant down too early and the trichomes are underdeveloped and you get that racy, speedy feeling that kind of could trigger it. So yeah, I don't know. I'd love to know too. And I've had a lot of friends of mine that I've had, Seth's wife, Miranda Family Farm's wife, same thing. Like, she was scared of it for a long time too, but it seems like this stuff that's come in our own personal gardens has had less of an anxiety effect on us. So I'm not sure. I'm not trying to knock dispensary bud, but for me, I know what I have in my garden. So
Yeah, look, because I suggested to a lot of people with anxiety. So I would actually, I'm kind of trying to feel out, the ones that do and the ones that don't, because I would hate to suggest to somebody that is suffering from anxiety, hey, yeah, you gotta try this. It'll help you out, and then send them off into a panic. I would feel super shitty.
yeah, and that's a problem my wife was having. She was in and out of hospitals for a period of time due to like mostly anxiety, but they were like big pharma induced, basically just medications that they stuck her on, and they only work for a certain period of time, and then it starts like the anxiety starts developing again, and then they updose you. And she was afraid to try cannabis for a long, long time. And I'm like, trust me, it helps. And I had my garden, so she tried some stuff out of my garden, and eventually it worked. So she's actually going now down on her meds instead of going up, and she's not having the anxiety reactions like before. So I don't really know how that works. I mean, my brother, he'll tell you he smokes all damn day long, has never had an issue with the anxiety, and like I envy you for sure sometimes because yeah, sometimes it's a killer. It's a day ruiner.
For
Yeah,
sure. for sure.
My wife, when she got her medical card, the doctor told her like the as far as anxiety pills and depression and stuff like that, that it's actually, you can substitute that for sex and cannabis and it'll get rid of all of it. So it's actually doctor's orders for me and my wife to have sex and smoke. Tell me that ain't real.
That's a good doctor, right? For sure. No, those definitely do help. I would agree. But yeah, I mean, you know what's never really bothered me in any way, shape, or form as far as anxiety is like any kind of edibles. I've yet to have a bad anxiety experience off of edibles. I'm not really big on them, but I've never yet had a bad experience. And that's even like dispensary made or whatever. So
I think when you ingest it through an edible form, I think your body handles it quite differently. Because I talked to some people that say edibles just, oh, they don't work for me, man, or whatever. And I really think your body kind of dictates as you adjust it and it gets into your system. Your brain, the endocannabinoid system, either says, "Hey, we're in good health. Enjoy that shit, motherfucker." And it kind of sends out, the buzz. But if you've got a bad back or you have some type of ailment that the cannabis can aid in, I think your body says, no, 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 no. I'm not going down the psychedelic realm today. This shit's medicine. You know what I mean? Strict medicine. You ain't gonna feel a high today. We're working on we're working on your health. So I think that plays a little bit to do with edibles, the edible journey too. I don't know.
yeah, I got a little bit into like the CBD mix too. I don't like straight CBD. I haven't really noticed much of a difference with straight CBD, but like if I get like a 4-to-1, so like say it's 4% THC, 4-to-1, 4 THC to 1 CBD, I noticed that usually is pretty good. It kind of helps the anxiety too. And that was kind of like my training wheels of getting back into cannabis after a few years of taking off from it. I think I started with like half and half and then moved up to 4-to-1. And, I don't really mess with the CBDs as much, but it definitely helped get back into it, build up a little bit of a tolerance. So I definitely haven't had way less panic attacks from any type of cannabis, but it does still happen. It's kind of, I guess, just maybe like you said, maybe it's the mindset you're in. Not sure.
I've also heard of a few folks actually becoming allergic to cannabis later in life. Uh, that would suck at this point in the game. I know for me, probably either one of you guys to actually become, you know, allergic to cannabis when we've kind of decided to kind of go all in with it. I Cannabis. There's a guy out of Denver. I want to say it's Cannabis TV or whatever, but I used to follow along on his journey, and I watched it happen to him, and it sucked, man. He had to give up a lot of stuff when he found out he was allergic to it. Hopefully, that's not the case with you. That you're in the beginning of the stages of possibly becoming allergic.
I know it's crazy and it's been like illegal for so long. And now that it's finally here and available for pretty much almost everybody. I mean, how many states now have passed? I mean, it's a lot now. So yeah, I mean, it really is not a good not a good thing if all of a sudden like finally becomes legal and you become allergic to it all of a sudden. That's not ideal.
So we're in the middle now. We got to rewind a little bit here and start back from the beginning. When did cannabis come into your life, your guys' life? Was it the same time, or did this guy I don't know where he's at on your screen, but he's lower. Did that guy have something to do with it?
Well, kind of. I mean, actually, I don't really remember. Seth, were you there the first time I smoked? I know we smoked, we had a mutual friend, and I remember my friend being there the first time. I'm not sure if you were. Were you? I can't remember. Like, that's
Are
how
you
long
talking
ago.
about? Are you talking about at the waterfront McDonald's?
Yeah, you were there,
Yeah,
right?
I was there. Yep.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, we did start this. My brother is a year and a half older than me, so we're pretty close in age. So we did kind of a lot of things together in life, like as like a brother pair. And so yeah, we were at this like waterfront, Plymouth, Massachusetts, and it was like this little McDonald's. I don't even think it exists anymore. And one of our friends we used to skateboard around with, he lights up a joint, and there's a couple of them, they're smoking, and they're like, hey man, you want to try it out? I don't remember how old I think it was like 1992. Correct me if I'm wrong, Seth. I think it was like
No, yeah.
1992. I think I was like 14 years old. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll give it a try. And I remember I took the hit and I didn't know what I was doing. I smoked cigarettes a little bit here and there, but I took this like really big rip of a hit. And this girl, let's use her first name only, her name was Melody. She's like, oh my God, dude, that's a big hit. And blew it out. I coughed, and we finished the joint. And yeah, I remember skateboarding back up to my friend's house after that, and all of a sudden it hit me. And it was like, wow, this is amazing. And I think I laughed for a good 30 minutes straight, and I'm like, this is where it's at. And so that's kind of how it started for both of us. And so then after that, we wanted to try and obviously find more. And our one friend, we'll just use his first name again, his name was Dylan. Dylan, wasn't always around, and he didn't always have it. So we were looking around the neighborhoods and asking some of our friends where we could find some, and it was always a giant mess. This is kind of probably, maybe if it's back in the day before dispensary times or any kind of legality, you dealt with that, especially if you're young, like 14 years old. Everybody could get you a bag, yeah, sure, but not only are they going to pinch a little bit out of it, but then you got to smoke them up, and then next thing you know, like, the bag's gone, and you don't have a lot of money at the age of like a teenager. So it was kind of annoying. It's hard to find, and half the time it was garbage, like just sticks and seeds and brown, and gave you just nothing but a 20-minute headache, and that was about it. So I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that, Seth, but that's pretty much like,
Yeah.
I can run stories off of that whole story in a minute, but
Well, that after that first fucking time we smoked, we started looking literally the next day for weed, and that's what sucked as young kids, and it was illegal. It was actually hard to find at the very beginning, and then you start finding connects, and they all sucked, and that's what led us into the next chapter of our life. If you want to carry on with that.
yeah, so I will. And this is kind of like, it's kind of a bittersweet thing. Like, it didn't, like, I can complain about how it went, but I'm not going to get there yet. So, after I finally got ripped off enough times, like, I set on a different adventure. I was like, I'm going to find it. I'm going to find my source, so I don't have to keep bugging these other guys. So they're just running to the man and coming back to me with half the bag and expecting me to smoke the other half with them. So it turns out that some of our family members, like, my dad was involved with some like Hell's Angels, and my uncles were involved in their own thing. So it turns out that there was a family connection that we had. And I realized quickly on that what the average price on the street was, I was able to get for a hell of a lot less. So it turned out like, somebody's like, hey man, can you get me a quarter? Because now I had the connection. And I think what the price was, like $50 a quarter or something like that. And through some of our family connections, once they realized that we were into that, they openly armed was like, yeah, we can get it for you. And the price was a $50 a half ounce, and it was pretty good shit. So it turns out that I could get my friend a quarter, get him a good deal, and I get to get like an eighth out of it for free by just making the transaction for him. So this turned into a thing where eventually, I'm like, I don't want to keep running back and forth. This is silly. And I was working a little dishwashing job or something like that. So I had a little bit of money and I started investing it, and I'd pick up enough where I could kind of like help out my friends and make a little free weed. Now this escalated to, because it was good shit and it was hard to find. And, people were happy that they didn't have to go through some like, shady, here, give me your money and I'll be back in a couple of days or a couple of hours, and hope they even came back. So it was a solid thing, and people were coming, and it just blew up. And the next thing you know, it got pretty big for us. I was mainly the one doing it. My brother was kind of helping out here and there, but it it got kind of overwhelming to the point where now you're the one that's got the spotlight on you. People know you now, and that attracts what? Attracts rats. If they get in trouble, they're going to rat you out. It's going to attract, stick up kids. They're going to try and take your shit from you. So we had to deal with a bunch of those problems. And, I'm talking like home invasions. Like I remember at one point I was sitting in my house or my apartment, and the door gets kicked in, right? And this is just a bunch of dudes running in with masks on, and they're like, give me the shit, give me the shit. That's pretty much the chanting this. And I wasn't stupid. I didn't keep anything in my house, so I couldn't give it to them. So they got me down, this one incident, right? They got me down on my knees. I got a gun in my mouth, and they're like, where the hell is this shit? And they're ripping my apartment, trashing it, trying to find something. I mean, I had like personal stash there, so they got that. I think took my pager, and I had like a triple beam balance. They stole all that, but they were upset. There's nothing in the house, so they're making a bad robbery. So I got hit with the gun a couple of times because they're like, where the fuck is it? And, I mean, that's just one incident. Another home invasion happened where I literally just got back from a pickup. So I did have quite a bit with me. And the whole thing was I get back to my apartment, and I was going to just kind of like break it down. And I had storage facilities that were outside of the house, like storage bins, you pay for those. And I would stash it all in there. But at this point, I still had all the stuff there. And my girlfriend at the time, I'm like weighing out the packages, and I turn around and she's like, oh my God, hide the shit. And I turn around and I see this guy's coming down the hallway, and he's got a mask on. And I froze. I didn't even know what to do. Like I literally froze. I just completely failed at life at that moment. And my girlfriend runs over and like kicks the bedroom door, and it like hit the guy. So I knew obviously now I'm in an altercation, and he's bigger than me. And I run over to him, and I kind of like grabbed him and tackled him down to the ground. And it was like I said, he was bigger than me, so he started to win this battle, and he's on top of me, and he's ready to pretty much just take over the fight. And my girl, I guess I didn't even see it. I just heard the smash, but she had a glass bottle, and she smashed him over the head with it. He falls off of me, and he takes off. And there was other people in the front room, in the living room of my apartment, and they claimed that they were all being held down by some other guys with masks with guns. But when their boy ran out the door, they must have thought he got the score, so they just followed him out. And yeah, during the struggle, I remember I ripped the mask off of his head. Never seen this man in my life. He was older than me. I think I was like 18 or 17 at the time. He was an older guy. And I took the mask off his head, no idea who he was, but he's gone, locked the door, freaked the hell out. But as a trophy, I hung that mask on my wall for a while because he didn't get the score. So, that's just a couple of stories I could tell you about, just going through that. Now I wasn't doing anything. I was just trying to like really make a little money and, I didn't try and make too much profit. I really was trying to do it more or less to give people a good outlet, like a good place to find stuff at that time back in the 90s where, you're not going to get ripped off. And these dudes are all just trying to take it from you, you know? Yeah, I got ratted out at one point. So I don't know what happened. I guess the dude got in trouble. And this isn't completely 100% confirmed, but it's about 99% confirmed. This dude gets in trouble. So he's setting me up. He wants a pretty large size package. And I'm supposed to go meet him, but I'm driving around in this Camaro and I got a fancy stereo system in it. And, the amplifier came undone. So I call my brother and I was like, can you do me a favor and bring me a screwdriver just so I can tighten up the amplifier so that my stereo works. He's like, okay, well, meet me at this school. It was closed at the time. It was summer. So we were just going to use the parking lot. So I call my buddy from the parking lot. I'm like, hey, I'm going to be late. Well, I shouldn't say buddy. He was definitely not a buddy. I'm going to be late. So, I'm down here at the school waiting for my brother to bring me a screwdriver. 2 minutes later, not even 2 minutes later, about 5 or 6 police cars enter the school parking lot. They come up to me and they say that there was a complaint about my dog because I had this pit bull and I tied him to the slide while I was waiting for my brother. I'm smoking a cigarette or something like that. But they just came in flooded. Like there was 5 or 6 cops on that street at the same time. They're definitely odd. So they're making a complaint about my dog and they start putting flashlights in my car, claim they see something that looks suspicious. And now they got probable cause to search my car and they find all the stuff. So I'm getting arrested. As I'm getting arrested, my brother pulls into the parking lot, sees what's going on, as a smart individual as he was, turned around and drove right out of the parking lot and took off. And, that ended up being a felony charge back in 1990 something. It was over the weight limits of trafficking. So, as I mentioned, oh, go ahead.
I didn't leave you hanging neither. When I pulled in and I seen that what was going on, I actually drove out of there, parked at our mom's house, and then walked back up because that shit sucked to see that go down. And it was all over cannabis, but because it was in a school zone, it made it way worse.
Oh yeah, back in the 90s, school zone carried a mandatory 2 years. Mandatory. That's not even talking about the trafficking and all the other charges that go along with it. So now I'm in the court system, and that's not even the first time. I think the first time I got in the court system was over a half ounce of weed, skipping school with my friends and my brother, and we're just walking through this path. Just cop pulls up behind us, and it's like, what the hell are you kids doing? You're not in school. And we're like, well, we missed the bus, so we're walking to school. Meanwhile, I went to a completely different school. We claimed we were going to South Plymouth School when I was in North Plymouth School. And he's like, all right, well, get in the car. I'll give you a ride. And I think he knew it was up at that point anyway. So we get in the car, the back seat of the police car, and my one other friend pulls out gum and starts handing it out to me and my brother. And at that point, cop was like, all right, I smell weed, get the hell out of the car, searches us. And, and that's another charge. So that one was luckily juvenile. So it was pretty much an easy wash with some probation. But now this second one, this one's heavy, so, and they still look at your juvenile record, whether they can actually use it against you, but they can still see it. So you're already in the system. It's hard to get out once you're in. And, now the stuff that was taken by the police officers in this school zone one, that was not 100% paid for. I owed people money for that. And those people were pretty scary people and they had connections. So they wanted their money regardless. So, like I said, most of the stuff was all in a storage bin outside. So my plan was, I'm out the game. but I obviously have to pay them back. So I'll just unload the rest of the stuff that's in the storage bin and then pay them off, and I'll be good. I'll be done. It's over with, and I'll just move on with my life and just forget all that shit. But I'm literally, I think it was like the last pound, it was the last 2 pounds of weed. And I'm getting ready to just drop that last one off and literally write it off as if nothing ever happened, and just take care of the one court case and hope for the best. As I'm leaving my parking lot, I think I pull down the street. I get maybe about a block and a half. I get pulled over. Cops pull me over. They say my tail light's out, which wasn't true. And it just so happens that my license was suspended that day because I lent my friend my car, and he got a parking ticket in Boston and never told me about it. So the day that the license got officially suspended due to not showing up to the court appearance or whatever, now that gives them a chance to arrest me. So I'm sitting there in jail waiting for a bail bond of like $50 for driving with a suspended license. And I'm thinking, no big deal, I'm good. The weed was stashed in a like very secure hidden spot in my car, so there's no way they'll find it. But as I'm sitting in that jail cell waiting for like my girlfriend or somebody to come bail me out, the police officers come in and they start throwing the weed into the jail cell, and they're like, okay, we found this shit in your car. Tell us where the rest of the stuff is, or else we're going to arrest your girlfriend. And she had the bail money. So I was like, all right, fine. This is where my apartment is, and yada, yada, yada. So they raid the apartment and they find a whole bunch more stuff, glass pipes and, whatever. But at least she got away with the money, so she was able to hopefully bail me out again. My lawyer is looking at me in court the next morning because there was, no bail set at that time. And he happens to be in that same courtroom, and he's looking at me like, the hell did you do? Why, Jeremiah, did you keep doing what you're doing? I didn't want to explain it. These people kill me for their money. But yeah, that was bad. And he ended up getting me out on bail. He did. He got
After
me
the
out on
school
bail.
zone, after the school zone, that whole that second arrest was like only like a month later, right?
Yeah, it was literally just a
I still
month
have the
later,
newspaper
back to back.
clippings.
And I mean, this was definitely like trafficking with intent to distribute because everything was separated with scales, and it just looked really friggin' bad. So I'm dealing with my lawyer now. Now I got 2 charges, both of them pretty serious. And at the end of the day, he's like, you're looking at like 7 to 10 years state prison. And I don't really know how much I can do. Like, you're caught red friggin' handed, and the police did a great job on their police report. So you're basically screwed. I'm like 19 years old. This is like 1999. And I freaked the hell out and didn't know what to do. I'm too young to go to prison for 10 years. So I took off. I split. I moved to New Jersey and tried to duck out and start a new life out there. And by the way, those people never got paid back. So now I'm worried about them. Are they going to find me? And they're not nice people. Like, they will want their friggin' money back for whatever I had. And it wasn't a small amount of money. So I dipped out to New Jersey and, quickly found out that extraditing out from New Jersey to Massachusetts for a charge like that was really hard for the court system to do. So I felt pretty safe. I spent a good 10 years out there, literally hiding from this whole thing, which means no license, no chance of going back to college or school. It's hard to get a job because I'm on the run. I'm a felon. I'm on a just ducking, always looking over my shoulder. Like, am I going to get pulled over? What's going to happen? I remember getting pulled over one time in New Jersey, and I wasn't driving. I was just in the car with a friend, but they ran both of our names, and they got me sitting in front of the police car for a good like hour. And what they were doing, they were on the phone with Massachusetts wondering if they can extradite me. And Massachusetts said, sorry, we can't extradite. So they had to let me go. But I mean, it was always like looking over my shoulder, going back home to visit the family was always stressful because like all it would take is that one small, simple mistake where boom, now I'm right in their hometown and they can take me in. So it was like kind of a rough beginning. Hopefully I didn't turn the mood of the show all bad, but like, yeah, no, it got bad for me for a little bit. And yeah, it was kind of a life-changing moment that time. And yeah, I'll let Seth talk for a minute, just because that's kind of emotional for me. It just really wrecked my life for a long period of time.
Yeah, so as that's all going on, I'm over in Massachusetts still getting arrested while he's on the run. You know what I mean? That kind of sucked too. So I'd go and visit him like a couple times a year when in New Jersey, and we'd go play in New York and do whatever. And I'm pretty sure you got arrested in New Jersey too, didn't you? For the same shit, but it was just non-extraditable.
Yeah, it was much smaller though. It wasn't like I wasn't doing anything super crazy when I was in New Jersey, but I did actually. That's a funny story too. I should tell that one. It's a good story. Um, so the price was a little higher in New Jersey, and this is still like early 2000s. Nobody's legal yet, and so I was bringing some packages, maybe about a duffel bag's worth, back and forth, and I'd take the bus. This little bus out of Boston. It would go from Chinatown, Boston to Chinatown, New York, and it cost like 10 or 15 bucks for a one-way trip. It's pretty good deal. So I'd fill up this duffel bag and I'd take it from Massachusetts and I'd go to New Jersey with it, and do my thing like that. So this one time, and I did this often, not as much as I was when I was living in Massachusetts, but I'd make a couple of runs, maybe like every couple of months or so. This one run, I'm on my way back, and as soon as I enter the Port Authority or whatever, where the bus lands, and they have the DEA board the bus, and they're like, your bus has been randomly selected for a drug search. We have canines or the whole nine, and we're going to do the search. Everybody stay put till everything's done. So and I think I had like an ounce of weed on me in my pocket, so I just stuffed it in the seat of the bus, kind of bugged out. So I get off the bus, and I grab my bag that I had my clothes in or whatever. At this point, just had clothes in it. And the bag was a military bag, which was actually my brother's. He was just lending it to me just to go on my trip. And as I'm leaving, I get maybe about 20 feet away from the bus, and this guy snatches me up in full civilian clothing, and he flashes a badge. He's like, DEA, we're part of the search. The dogs really liked your bag. Do you mind if we search it? And I'm like, go ahead. You could search the bag all you want, because there was nothing in it. So I wasn't like worried about it. So they're searching the bag, asking me a bunch of questions. I'm like, are you military? And I'm like, I'm not military. My brother is. It's his bag. I was just borrowing it. And they're like, well, does your brother like smoke weed or have anything to do with weed? And I'm like, yeah, he smokes the shit out of weed, to be honest with you. And he's like, because the dogs picked up the scent. Must have been lingering on the bag because it's been used for cannabis and must have had cannabis in it. But freaked me the hell out, because if that was any other time, that bag would have been full. So caught a break for a change on that one, but god damn, that scared the crap out of me for sure. Like, and after that, I was like, no more, I'm not doing that anymore. And I kind of like, that was the last one for me.
Yeah, I got pulled over one time, and I was going 55 in the 54, and they pulled me over. We had a fucking blunt going, me and my buddies, and I had an ill fishbowl going, and I put the window down in the cop's face when he came over. All the smoke pouring into the dude's face. He was so fucking pissed off. One of my buddies, he threw the roach under my seat, so the car was still filling with smoke as we were getting pulled out.
Burning the
Canines
carpet.
come. Yeah, they rip the car apart. Fucking car gets towed, all that shit. But one of the scariest things I've ever had to deal with when it came to the canine was I had my kids in Cub Scouts, and so I actually forgot that I had like a huge, like it must have been like a 3/4 stick of a blunt in my pocket. And I accidentally brought it to the Cub Scout meeting with me. And that wouldn't normally be too much of a problem. This was like pre-medical and legal. But the sheriff's department was there at the Cub Scout meeting that day because they were gonna do a demonstration with the canines. They actually stashed, before we got there, fake drugs in the room. So they were gonna let the dogs run around the room and show us that the dogs can find the drugs. In the meantime, I have fucking huge fucking smelly ass blunt roach, 3/4 stick in my pocket, and I'm fucking panicking like I do not want to get arrested at my kid's Cub Scout meeting in front of all the kids and shit. I'm like a scumbag. And you know what's fucked up? The dog found the fake shit, never found what was in my pocket. Unfucking believable.
That is crazy. Now, I do want to give you guys a little bit of a relief from my story about when I got caught with the big one back in Massachusetts and being on the run. Eventually, I met a woman and became in love, and we ended up deciding to have a baby, and everything was going great until I realized I really can't be a successful father. I'm on the run, you know. I'm eventually going to get caught. Like, this isn't going to work out. So I became super depressed and just kind of blew the relationship. She ended up leaving me, and that was actually a good thing because at that point I was like, I know what I got to do now. I have to go back to Massachusetts. I got to go turn myself in and get this behind me, you know. So I go back to Massachusetts, and of course it wasn't easy to just do this. So I kind of like had to put myself out there to get caught instead of just turning myself in. And I won't get into the details of how I got caught because I don't want to bring names up or anything like that, because I know there was another rat situation going on with that. But, you know, they were looking for me. They trust me. They never stopped looking for me. In fact, friends of mine would call me all the time and be like, you know, they're asking me to get you to come back here because they can't extradite. So stay where you're at. You're safe. But, you know, I can't move on with my life. And I'm an adult now. Like I need to be a father and whatnot. So
Yeah.
when I finally got my court case, you know, after that, because the case was so old and there was like some lack of evidence and whatnot, and this was a bad mistake on mine because I maybe could have fought this further, but at the time, maybe it was the right choice. I don't know. I ended up getting a plea bargain where I pled out to, I forget the exact conviction, but they dropped a lot of the felony stuff. They dropped a lot of the like trafficking stuff. And so basically they were like, we'll give you 2 years prison and was it 5 years loss of license, something like driver's license. So, and then they're like, with good time, you can be out in a year. So at the time I was like, that's pretty goddamn good compared to if I try and take this thing all the way to the bank. This was in 2010, still illegal. So if I tried to take it to the bank, it was looking at 7 to 10 state. So I was kind of okay with the 1 year, and I figured I could handle that. So I took that deal and did have to do the time. And I did get my time with only half. So I did get parole, and I think it was like, I don't know, a couple months into the parole, my parole officer comes over to my house and he does my check, and I'm Mr. Sobriety at this point. I'm doing everything right. But I was a chef. I was a restaurant worker. So there's a bar attached to the restaurant, just so everybody's aware of that. So my parole officer, he's badgering me about spice. He's like giving me a drug test, and he's like, you're coming up positive for spice. That's illegal, and you can't do that on probation. And he's trying to get me to admit something that I wasn't doing. And I'm like, I don't even know what the hell spice is. I don't know if you guys are familiar with spice, but at the time people were using it as like a cannabis substitute because it got you high, but it didn't show up on drug tests. I don't know exactly what it is, never really tried it, but he's badgered me about this spice. And I'm like, no, 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 I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I don't do spice. And he's like, all right, fine. Come outside, sit out on the front porch, and gets into his car. And he gets on the phone, and he's on the phone for a minute. About 2 minutes later, police car shows up on this side, shows up on this side. Boom, now there's two. And they're like, put your hands behind your back. We're taking you in for violation of parole for allegedly drinking. Because mind you, you're on head count. You're still a prisoner. You're just on the streets. So they pretty much do whatever they want. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Allegedly drinking? He's like, well, somebody's seen you at the bar drinking. I'm like, I work there. Like that, I was just saying hi to a customer that I knew. But anyway, that's allegedly drinking. So I'm right back in there to finish my thing. And he's like, you'll get a hearing in about 2 weeks. And you could plead your case and you'll be probably out if you claim what you say is whatever you say. So about 2 weeks go by. They call me up to the bubble and they're like, Mr. Miranda, come up here. It's like, pack your stuff. And I'm like, I'm going home. So I start giving away all my stuff, like my canteen and my food. And I think I'm going home. And then they hit me with you're going to sentence block D5 or whatever the hell it was. I can't even remember at this point. And I'm like, wait, I never got my hearing. And they're like, well, we don't know anything about your hearing. We're just giving orders. They're telling us you're sentenced. So I ran back and got all my food back. And I'm like, I guess I'm wrapping this thing up.
That's why we made 2 soups here, people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if in case you guys didn't guess, the Miranda Family Farm strains all have a significant reference to personal things in our lives. And 2 soups is a reference, in case you don't know. Ramen noodles are like basically a form of currency in jail or prison. And typically it's just 2 soups, and that's what they call it on. That's what they call it in there. So that's what that means. That's kind of like, because we went through, legalities and, we're bootlegging. And I can say that I'm upset with some of these outcomes, but I understood the risks before I got caught. So I'm not saying, oh, woe was me, I got caught. I knew that it was risky. I knew it was illegal. So I accept that responsibility. That was my choice. I could have done something different with my life, but I did have a passion for the cannabis plant at that time, and I don't really regret it. I just wish the laws weren't so strict about it back in the day, because like they were comparing cannabis to basically like harder drugs like cocaine and heroin, that really do ruin people's lives, where I've never really seen cannabis ruin people's lives other than if you got caught up in a legal system with it. So yeah, 2 soups, just so y'all know, that's just a reference to some of the bullshit, I'll say, that we had to go through. But like I said, I signed up for it. I'll accept the responsibility.
Yeah, you got a good point there too, because this is a fucking medicine in medical states, but it's still scheduled as a drug with no medicinal value, which is fucked up. So what is my medical
they
card?
just fucking try. There's legislation on the books right now to fucking take off cocaine out of the Schedule 1, but yet they're gonna leave cannabis up there. They're gonna make cocaine medically usable again, but not cannabis. Go figure on that shit.
Damn.
Well, like I said, because like being a part of that like underground, people used to ask me all the time, can you get the cocaine? Can you get the whatever? And, I didn't really partake in that, but being around some of that like underground shadiness, I've watched cocaine ruin people's lives. I've watched heroin ruin people's lives. I've never seen marijuana ruin anybody's life other than if
we
you just got
ruined
caught while it was illegal.
It ruined both of our lives, our whole life.
No, I
But it
mean
was
like
because it
other
was
than
illegal.
legal issues. I mean like as far as like becoming addicted to a drug that you'll do anything for, I think Dave Chappelle said it best. Like nobody, what was it? What was the movie he did? It's a big movie about cannabis. What the hell is it called?
Like half baked.
Half
Half
baked.
Baked. He's like, you haven't sucked dick for weed. Like, you know what I mean? That was one of his lines in that movie. That's like not a thing. Like, but other drugs, yeah, why not? Like that. It's one of those ones where it's that addiction is too much. Like you will do whatever you got to do. You'll rob and steal. I mean, the people that used to try and steal the weed from me back in the day, they didn't steal the weed because they wanted weed. They stole the weed because the weed was worth a value that they could then turn into some other drug for their drug of choice, which was typically not weed. It was more or less to get their other heroin or, whatever fix they were looking for. So I wouldn't say weeds ruined anybody's lives other than if you got caught illegally trying to use it or, whatever back before when it was bootleg.
So
Maybe an anxiety attack, but it goes away.
were you able to get some of that shit taken off in your record? And in this day and age, are you hoping to get some of that stuff expunged? Does it matter these days, or are they just kind of badges to honor now that cannabis is legal?
Well, here's the thing. I am about to cross that road and I don't have an answer for you, but I will soon and I'll let you guys know. Excuse me. So I recently graduated with a software engineering degree and now I'm searching for jobs. And one of the first jobs that I was really interested in, because they put you into companies such as banks, like financial like what's the word I'm looking for? Financial firms or like government agencies as well. So they do a deep search on you because obviously they don't want to give felons access to people's money and records and financial and credit and, probation or government agency stuff. So they do a deep search. And I wasn't aware that because I was kind of under this understanding that there was like a fall off period of 7 years to 10 years, depending on where you're looking to work. But apparently that's not the case. So these charges are all been done and over with over 10 years ago. So I felt I was safe until I started applying for this company and I'm hired. My start date is effectively November 29th, pending this background check. But the background check looks through misdemeanors and through everything. And so all these charges potentially will show up and don't have to follow the 7 to 10 year, it falls off, it's there, they can get it. And I understand that they do want to make sure that they're going to have, if I'm working on a software that has your banking information and your something like that super needs to be protected, they're going to do the background check thoroughly. So I now have to look into expungement. I haven't looked into it because it was so old I didn't think I needed to. But if this result comes back that I don't have the job and I don't start the 29th, then that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to try and see about expungement because I know Massachusetts does, and most of those charges are in Massachusetts. They do allow the expungement now of cannabis. So, but it might be too late for this job, but for future jobs, yeah, absolutely. I'm going to look into it because I don't want to run into this mess I feel like I'm in now. Like I almost feel like I'm just ready for the answer of no.
In the meantime, I'm wearing my arrests record as a badge of honor because I'm disabled and don't work. So when I do get my back fixed and go back to work, I'm going to try to get a job in the cannabis industry, and that those charges might actually benefit me through the social equity program. My specific town was targeted more than others. There's a list of towns in Massachusetts that were hit by the cops more than others against cannabis and drug charges. So my specific town is going to help me just just that, never mind the actual drug charges. It's fucked up that it's not a medicine charge, it's a drug charge. It's fucked up that when you go to the pharmacy back in the day, it was called a drugstore. You know what I mean?
It was. I remember those days.
Hopefully it won't work against you in your future there, brother. Yeah. Yeah, that's as far as like the background checks, I always thought they would be some like deep background checks too. And then I see when John McAfee died, all the shit he was into and shit. And he was like the number one software antivirus, and here this guy's like living life, fucking selling drugs. He was making drugs in that one country. So I watched that documentary. I'm like, and this guy's got a back door to fucking everybody's computer. Holy shit. He's probably got everything on everybody.
Yeah, they're pretty thorough. I mean, if I was just to go work for like some regular company that wasn't dealing with such sensitive data, like they're not going to do the full ring around the rosy of a background check, because those are expensive anyway. They cost more. But like if these companies are working with banks and government agencies, those ones, if this doesn't work out and the expungement doesn't work out, then I guess that just eliminates those opportunities for me. But there's still other opportunities. So I mean, as much as that sucks, I'll be fine. I'll figure it out. Plus, I want to kind of do video game design and programming more than I want to really work for a bank anyway. It just sounds more fun. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'll find out soon, and I'll keep you guys posted. And hopefully, fingers crossed that I could just start this job, because it's an amazing opportunity. Especially as a new software engineer, it's hard to get a job without experience, and this job trains you from like head to toe. They get you ready for like, whatever, and just their onboarding process is amazing too. Like, so this company is amazing to work for, but if they don't want me because of some cannabis issues I've had in my life, then so be it, and I'll move on and I'll find something else.
So I'm going to take this story. The story's about one of the times I went to go visit my brother while he was on the run. And I don't know if you can zoom in on your fucking face right here, but there's a big ass scar on my brother's face.
Wait,
so
corner of the camera.
Did you forget which side it is?
No, it's just the camera. I'm a little stoned right now, so I think it's this side. No, you can't see it because it's too fuzzy.
I went to go visit my brother. But it pretty much
stretches from here. Wait, let me turn my background off. That's just making it messy. But yeah, it's pretty hideous. Literally, I am Scarface.
It goes from your eye to towards your neck, right? On the one side.
Pretty much just from my top of my eye down to my like. Here, let me see if I can just turn off this background. Does that look any better?
Other side.
So here,
I always do it there. Yeah.
It starts up here. It goes all the way down to about like right here.
So how that happened, you might be wondering, is I went and visited my brother, and someone came over to grab a sack, and that was it. But that was supposed to be it. What I heard was, as the guy was leaving, he smashed a bottle on the side of the hallway as he was going down getting ready to go down the steps. I think he was drunk. I heard the sound.
Yeah, he was drunk. I was kicking him out of the house because he was wasted, and he was like interfering. He was like touching some of the girls that were there inappropriately, and I heard he took a piss in my kitchen because he was drinking tequila and was wasted.
Yeah, so
Because I don't remember much of this story, so I'll let you kind of carry this one.
So he smashed the bottle on the side of the wall, stabbed my brother in the face, and when I went, because I heard the smash sound, I came running in there. I see my brother's face from here all the way down, peeled completely off, hanging, and I was like, "Oh my god!" So I grabbed the dude by the fucking hair and I pulled him back into the house. And me and my brother stomped that guy's fucking head so hard that his eye actually came out of his socket. And
it didn't like fly out, but it just wasn't in the socket anymore. So don't get that twisted.
Yeah, didn't pop out, but it eventually slid its way out. But there was so much blood all over the place. It was fucking crazy. The cops came. They took my brother away. The cops came. I actually called.
I got taken away in an ambulance, not a cop car this time, just to clarify.
Yeah, actually, yeah. So I was fucking pissed. I was all amped up. The cops took my weed and everything. I went and seen my brother in the hospital. He was in a full gauze helmet. The people that brought me to go see him, they were supposed to park my car. They stole my car with all my money in it. Got the money back later on. I mean, the car back later on with no money. And finally on my way back home after like the whole horrible vacation that happened, and going down the highway, and then a fucking rock falls out of the back of a dump truck, cracks my windshield on my car. I'm like, this is the fucking shittiest vacation to go visit my brother ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that one was
rough. It was just
like,
there was a lot of fucking violence that went down before you could just walk into a store and buy yourself your medicine. It was dealing with the shit on the street. So that's one good thing about legalizing it a little better. Is I know there's still violence involved and stuff, but it seems to be way less for us anyway.
Now, I should mind you that whole story that he mentioned, I didn't even know what was going on. I remember hearing a commotion, and the next thing I know, I'm in this violent fight, and I remember there's blood everywhere, and I didn't even know it was mine. I had no idea it was my blood. I remember I'm in a fight for some reason, and this girl that was at the house was like crying, and she's like, "You need to go to the hospital." And I was like, I was confused. So she like grabs me by my coattails and like drags me into the bathroom and shows me my face in the mirror. Like my brother mentioned, it was literally hanging off. And I freaked out, went back to see the dude, and he's laying in that pool of blood. And I think that's when we just stomped him a couple extra times. I mean, it probably wasn't a nice thing to do, but he wasn't nice to us. Yeah. Yeah, that was crazy. And none of us got charged on that. Just the one guy that was the one who stabbed me in the face. He got charged with mayhem, and he ended up he doesn't, he's not around anymore. We'll just leave it at that. Not to just go any further than that. He's probably safe in another country, but yeah, but that was an interesting moment of life. I think it was like 187 stitches inside and outside of my face.
Holy shit. Holy shit. That's a lot of stitches, brother. Surprised that you didn't bleed out before you got some help, man. That's a lot of blood loss right there, man. Oh,
yeah. Here's the sad part of the story. Okay, so I was having a party that night because I had my friends coming to visit me from Massachusetts, and my roommate was at work because we were restaurant workers at the time. So he was a server, and he got home late that night, and the house is empty, and he walks in to pretty much like pools of blood all over the kitchen, blood splattered all the way up to the ceiling. And he walks into this house not knowing what the hell happened. And just imagine being that guy. Like, imagine walking into your house and nobody's there, and there's just like pools of blood everywhere. He said it smelled like death. And I kind of feel bad for him in a way. I'm like, how freaked out was he when he walks in the house and sees that? And just like, is there somebody still here? Or are there dead bodies somewhere? Like, I mean, that poor dude, he was a good friend of mine. We still are in contact today. He lives in England, somewhere. We talk like a couple times, at least 4 or 5 times a year. But yeah, I remember that. I can't imagine like coming home and wondering where your roommates are and why there's blood everywhere. And having no idea what happened or if somebody's still in the house, like is the perpetrator still like hiding in a closet waiting for somebody else? Like,
Was that the last night of for that roommate in particular roommate? Like, I've had enough. This, I'm out of here. This ain't my kind of shit.
no, he was my friend. We stayed living together for several more years after that. He visited me in the hospital and everything. A lot of my friends from Massachusetts that came to that party never came back to New Jersey though. So I think the only person that came back to New Jersey was my brother and his wife, but like my other friends were like, yeah, we're all good. It's too crazy out there.
I tried to find this, but I couldn't find it in my pile of shit in my attic, but I still have a fan leaf from the first plant I ever grew. From our first plant we ever grew. So when me and my brother, we were into like BMX bikes. We used to enter contests on the half pipes and race and stuff. So we kind of stayed away from uh, smoking and stuff for a little bit. And then we built this fort in my mom's backyard. And that was kind of while we were into the bike thing. Well, later on in life, that fort turned into a spot for us to smoke at because we're young kids. It's illegal. There's nowhere to fucking smoke. You got to hide in the woods if you can find a spot. You know what I mean? So my mom's backyard, it was a perfect spot to go. It was a deep driveway. It was far from the street. So we built a spot. This fort was, you can fit maybe 25 people in there at a time. It was a pretty decent size. And that place, we had some serious friggin' smoke sessions in there. So back when we were in doing that, that was all brickweed. So like rifling through the fucking seeds and dumping them off like a magazine to separate them and just throw them out the door. Well, one of them fucking germinated. We were like, holy shit. That's actually what got us into growing was the germinating of just a regular discarded brickweed seed. And so I still have the a leaf of the first plant we ever grew from 1994, and it's still green. I have it in a photo album, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, there was some serious
really
weed
cool.
smoked in that damn fort, man. I remember we had joint rolling contests. Who could pack the most weed into a joint? So we'd take like entire books of papers and stick them all together. And I think what was the record size? It was like
We had it
many
scribed
ounces.
onto the wall. Like we actually like marked it on the wall in there. There was hundreds and hundreds. Actually, we had a little sign on like a login sheet for people that had never been there before. There was a staple in the area for anyone that smoked that would come there, and that's how popular the smoking spot was for like our county, I guess. And it was pretty cool. That place was not there was a lot of drinking. I never I didn't drink, but there was a lot of drinking. There was a lot of smoking, orgies, fucking everything, ill parties in there. My fucking neighbor's house got spray painted. Remember? Just
Yeah,
from
there
like
was
kids
some
all
bad
fucked
stuff
up.
too. Actually, I think people started living there.
We had a few. We had a few people
Couple
living
people like started squatting in this little fort because it just was like it was sturdy, man. If you're homeless, I guess they just figured they could just live there. I mean, they weren't really allowed to, but
I remember our dad tried to fucking destroy the fort. Remember, he was shaking the fuck out of it and stuff, and he was like, because he was all set with the idea, and he couldn't rip it down. And then it was weird because one day we were all in there, and my dad was like a motorcycle dude. So he's got his friend. There's a shed in front of the fort, and my dad's and his friend are like over by the shed, and we're all in the fort smoking. The door's shut and everything. And next thing you know, my dad's friend comes and he joins the session in with us, and my dad was like awkwardly just waiting outside of the fort while we were smoking in the fort with his friend. It was just fucking weird because like we didn't smoke with my dad until we were like adults, and my mom. But we got both of my mom and my dad to smoke with us when we were older, which is cool.
I smoked with mom as a teenager. Not gonna lie.
Actually, I think I was 18 also, but I like adult still. You might have because you're a year and a half younger.
That's true. And my dad told me like years later, like he was a motorcycle guy, and he was affiliated with the Hells Angels for a little bit of time. So he was out at the bars and whatnot and knew a lot of people. And he used to tell me when we were older, before he passed away, that people would come up to him and be like, dude, I know all about that place. And like it had a name. It was called what do we call it? The Meat Wagon. It was called the Meat Wagon. That was like its nickname. I don't know where that name came from. I think it came from a bike
video.
Yeah, a bike video or something, because we used to do BMX, and this is back in the day in the 90s. So my dad would tell me years later that people would come up to him at the bar when he was hanging out and be like, man, I know your kids, man. I used to smoke in the Meat Wagon. My dad comes to me at one point. He's like, dude, everybody knows about this friggin' Meat Wagon. Like, everybody.
Someone's in the chat. Yeah, we are actually. So we live in Plymouth where the fucking Mayflower and Pilgrim shit is. We used to create all kinds of chaos over by where the Plymouth Rock is. North Plymouth, baby.
Yeah. Plymouth seems like a really nice, quaint little town. And for the most part, it is. But yeah, like just make a wrong turn and you can get yourself into some trouble pretty quick. And that's another thing. I'm really grateful that. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead, brother. You're speaking first, and you're the guest.
I was just gonna say, I do feel lucky that living in the growing up in the South Shore, Massachusetts, for many years in a row, it was ranked one of the number one overdoses for opioids. Like, so South Shore, Massachusetts was like number one in the nation of opioid overdoses, whether it was heroin pills, or I guess what everybody started doing was fentanyl or something. I don't know. I never got into that scene, thank God. But I feel lucky, and part of cannabis might have even have saved me from like going down that road. I mean, I used to get phone calls daily on like, oh, so-and-so from high school passed away, overdose, heroin, overdose, overdose, overdose. And that was the statistic. And I'm not sure where it is now, but for a long time, it was one of the most opioid overdose areas in the entire nation.
Just hitting chat here. And chat was saying that would be a good name for a strain name, Meat Wagon.
It is.
I already made one.
Believe it or not, that is a strain name. I'll let Seth tell that.
That was the first strain I ever made, and it's a 3-cross strain, and I made that like years ago, but I never really released it to anyone other than like just local friends or whatever. But hell yeah. I also seen someone said on the chat a good strain name would be fucking the full gauze helmet. Make a gauze helmet strain.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, a lot of our strains that we've come up with, me and my brother, we sit up late nights sometimes and we just laugh about it. But when we come up with our strain names, they're all kind of like an inside joke to us, like in a way. At least definitely has an internal meaning between us. So if you look through the names, like they might sound like bike seat. What the hell is bike seat? It's not like Tropicana Punch or some cool sounding name, but that means something to us. And I'm not going to get into what bike seat means. My brother can if he feels the need to, but I think that's one of the first original strains that we released. And, you know, those names are all just stuff that we laugh about. I think it makes it kind of fun in a way. I don't know. That's, yeah.
And the fact that every other name is copywritten, you want to get in trouble nowadays. It's a big fucked up thing. Strain naming is actually a big goddamn project because there's fucking 5 billion strains that are already taken. And if you don't want to name it the same as someone else's because that just piss everyone off. So naming it something completely fucking stupid. Like, how good is bike seat gonna sound on a dispensary shelf? That's probably retarded sounding. But like you said, it's got a meaning to it for a reason. Just ask Johnny Caniseed. 2 hits off the bike seat knock you the fuck out.
Yeah, he knows the inside joke. Johnny Caniseed definitely knows the inside joke on that. And if you don't know the inside joke, get to know Miranda Family Farms a little bit, and maybe we'll let you in on the inside joke because I don't know, it's at least funny to me.
Maybe
Because I laugh.
we'll go over it in the wormhole where it's a little more appropriate. I think we should.
Yeah, we won't bring it up here.
We went on a freaking hour and a half rant on just straight violence and fucking stuff that happened on the younger years.
Yeah, my bad about that. Sorry. Hopefully we didn't ruin the mood of the show. That was probably a little mood changing.
So
but I just wanted to let you guys know that cannabis was not always like an amazing journey for me. Some parts of it were bad. Like I had to endure shit that I wished hopefully none of you guys had to go through. And now that everything's legal, you hopefully never have to worry about those kind of things ever again. You don't have to worry about where you're going to get your shit. And are you going to get robbed? Are you going to get ratted out? Like I guess we had to take some for the team. Anyway.
Oh, it's good to hear them stories. A lot of folks, man, generation down, man, don't even know that this shit's even possible. You know what I mean? They're growing up in the fucking legal market and shit, and it's all I think some of them kind of take it for granted. In fact, with that being said, I think they kind of in some areas, I think the next generation takes flower for granted because they came up in more or less the dab and extract kind of era. And I think a lot of the younger kids scoff at flower, to be honest with you, but I don't get it myself.
We got to shout out the growers here because fucking you were a seed seller, Eagle, this fucking going to an event. There's maybe fucking a very small percentage of people that grow, but everyone else there smokes. You know what I mean? Like, so we're the people that are providing that for the people to smoke. So shout out to all of us growers providing good, clean, quality medicine. And that was a transition period, actually. I think everyone has a transition period of smoking recreationally and then it being more medically for them. And when the whole recreational came to our area, it was I had to figure out, like, so my kids, you would excuse myself from smoking in front of them, and I still do, but they just know what I'm doing. I never told them about cannabis. I pretended I was growing fucking tomatoes, and then next thing you know, it's recreational, and there's billboards up all around our towns. The radios have commercials of pro cannabis. The police station had a big blinking construction signs telling people where to park, and for the recreational dispensary that opened up. The town was definitely pro cannabis. So like now my kids are seeing it all, and they can come and tell me like, all right, well, they already knew that wasn't tomatoes I was growing. They just didn't want to say anything. But they also grew up this whole time listening in school and stuff like it's still bad. So now all of a sudden one day, now it's good. So it's confusing to a kid. And it makes me look like, from like as a father, hiding smoking this whole time around my kids made it look like I was doing something wrong to them because I was hiding. You know what I mean? I've been hiding when I was a little kid, smoking, hiding from my parents, hiding from the public. And then I was older and I'm hiding from my kids. So now I don't hide from anyone, which feels fucking weird, but good. And so what I did was I got my kids and I signed me, my wife, and all my kids up. There was a cultivation facility in Rhode Island that was doing a community cleanup. So I made my kids go. They put on their dispensary shirts they all gave us, and we went and picked up fucking trash around the streets of Rhode Island, in a state we don't even fucking live in. They give you like gloves and the trash pit grabber and all that shit. And the kids actually had fun doing it. They had an ice cream truck after, and showed the kids that like this, we ain't a bunch of lazy fucks. You know what I mean? We actually do good things. We're not melting into the couch or whatever those stupid commercials were, eggs frying and all that shit.
Egg in the frying pan, yeah.
Yep.
This is your brain on drugs.
That gave me the idea, like, well, why the fuck aren't I doing a community cleanup as Miranda Family Farms? So because I did that, I started doing my own community cleanups. I went and bought like fucking shitloads of the trash grabbers and gave everyone a shirt and trash bag and gloves and stuff. And we did a bunch of community cleanups through Miranda Family Farms. And my kids were kind of nervous doing it in our town because they thought they might see someone from their school and be embarrassed. And it turns out when they went the first time, everyone that walked by was like pretty much cheering us on. And it made the kids feel like that they actually had fun and felt like they were doing something good, and everyone acknowledged that they were doing something good. And it was badass. And my buddy, he kind of invested into a dispensary facility in my town that's going to open soon. And he was telling them what I do. So next thing you know, they're doing a community cleanup for the town. So we got all these people now doing community cleanups for the town. And it's fucking just making the whole place look nicer through cannabis. It's all cannabis community people. Ain't no one else, no other fucking program or organization out there cleaning shit unless you're in a jumpsuit cleaning them from the fucking the prisoners. They're the only other people that clean the streets besides cannabis people.
Well, there's government agencies.
That's awesome. I'm sorry, brother. That's all I was going to say. That's fucking awesome. I greatly appreciate getting the community involved like that.
Hell yeah. I actually challenge all you guys to get your communities together in your little fucking weed groups and do your own community cleanups and show the communities that you live in that we ain't a bunch of dirt bags and we do the good shit.
It'd be funny to see somebody do, like here in Michigan, in certain areas on the highway, they have to like adopt a mile. You know what I mean? And then they tell you who adopted that mile. It'd be kind of it'd be cool to see like Miranda Family Farms is like on one of them signs, but it'd be cool to, like, if you could take it one step further, you know, clean it up and then Johnny Appleseed that motherfucker with some hemp or something.
Oh, yeah, no. I just want to buy that freaking mile so I can park on it somewhere and smoke right on the side of the highway because that's my shit now.
There you go. Maybe somebody can go into Boston's meth mile and clean that one up.
You know, my first glimpse into the cannabis community itself was when we went to the Boston Freedom Rally, and we seen like how cool it was with it was a mix of, there was boys and girls, young and old, black and white, everyone all together, no one was fighting, everyone's getting along, and everyone was smoking, and I was like, oh my God, these are my fucking people. You know what I mean? And that was 1996, and we kind of been trying to help with the cause ever since then, actually.
Yeah, I'll tell you a quick story about the Boston Freedom Rally. If you guys don't know what the Boston Freedom Rally is, it's like one of the oldest, I think, you know,
It's the second oldest because Seattle's older.
so yeah, it's one of the oldest rallies to try and legalize cannabis. You know, like you said, what was it, 1996 or 1995 that we were there? And I remember, you know, me and my friends showed up and had a bunch of pre-rolled cone joints. This is before they had the, you know, the stuffable cones. We had to roll our own. And I remember we're smoking, and this couple of cops pulled up and they're on Clydesdales or some kind of horseback, and we're smoking right there. And we're like, oh shit. And the police looked at us. This is in 96, completely illegal. And he's like, it's not legal yet, boys, get up the hill. And we just looked at him like, yes, sir. And, you know, we took our joints and we scurried up the hill and finished them up there. And it was kind of a cool moment at that time because that was what, I don't know, 1996. When was it legal in Massachusetts? 2014, 16?
No, it was a little before. I think it was like closer to like 12 or 11 because I got my medical cards since 2013.
Well, it was definitely about 15 years before it was legal. And the cops could have done something about that. And they looked at us. We were like 19, 20 years old. And they're like, it's not legal yet, boys, get up the hill. And because we were just kind of in the walkway in the Boston Commons, there's like some areas that are more grassy. And he's basically just saying, get off the path and kind of go find a spot that's not so open, like kind of like not legal yet, guys. You know, but it was cool to have that moment with a police officer at that like primitive stage in like the legal system of change. Because, you know, if that was just on the street and it wasn't the Boston Freedom Rally and you were just smoking on the street, you would have got arrested for sure. Or maybe you would have got a maybe somewhat decently cool cop that would have just said, here, give it to me and stomp it out and then walk away and not charge you. But he would have took your shit.
That never happens neither. Usually you walk away with a bunch of lumps on your fucking face and you get arrested.
No, there's a lot of decent officers out there, so I'm going to disagree with that statement. I've had officers that literally just stomped my shit out when I was smoking in public, and you know, not all of them. I'm not saying every officer don't try and test the system, but you know, some people are pretty cool about it. I've had those officers that did give me a break. I've had officers that didn't. So it goes both ways.
You know, actually, I got a story for you about not having a break. So I was on lunch break when I was working, and I had my girl come down. We were at a pond. She met us down there on lunch break. It was me, my cousin, my assistant, and then my girl. So I rolled a joint and I lighted up and was smoking it, and we were passing it around in a circle. There was only one car in that pond. They were way off to the side. It was a van, and it was a family in there, and we didn't think anything of it. Well, after we were done passing the joint around, getting ready to go back to work, that's when the door of the van opens, and it's a fucking cop. He's on his lunch break with his family. I'm on my lunch break with my coworkers and my girl. Cop walks over. He's like, the fuck are you doing? This is before medical or anything. And he's like, so he searches all of us. And my girl had a little bit of butt on in her pocketbook, so I said it was mine because I'm already obviously going down. And that dude arrested me on his lunch break while I was on my lunch break. You know what I mean? For fucking smoking a joint. I think he might. I don't even know if he kept the roach for evidence, which sucked because like that almost got me fired. You know what I mean? Like that's not good. Trying to talk about like when you go back to work, all the other people go back to work and I'm not there. And then the day you go back to work after court and everything, and you're like, yeah, I fucking got arrested on lunch break for weed, and they all see it in the papers. And it's like, fuck, that's like, it's embarrassing. It almost ruined my job. That sucks. So after talking about all this arrest shit, going back to like what my brother was saying, over here, there's a lot of, just like everywhere, there's a lot of heroin use and pills and stuff. And a lot of our friends passed away.
A lot of our friends passed away.
Yeah, like it's ridiculous. And I don't know if I have many friends left, which is fucked up. But when I became disabled from the military, the doctors fed me all kinds of pills too. I think I told this story before, but I'm just gonna say it again and lead my brother into the chapter of Arizona. So I wanted nothing to do with the fucking doctor's pills. Grow your own medicine. That's what I was telling them. But I wanted to help other people, like Mendo Dope. Chemicals kill and cannabis heals. Only thing is, I needed seeds to be able to give to people to get them off of the pills.
Hey, I'm gonna run to the bathroom real quick, Seth. I'll be right back.
I'll hold down the fort, son. So I ended up hitting up Subcool. That's how I ended up getting in with Subcool. Is I was like, hey, we need seeds over here. I need to get these fucking people off of whatever the hell they're doing or whatever. And yeah, and that's how I ended up getting into the seed game. Was Subcool kind of gave me the break I needed, and by Subcool doing that, it led to North Star, it led to Miss Jill and all the other Mr. Spliff and all our other weed nerd friends and stuff. So it worked out pretty cool. How I kind of want to tell the story, but I want to wait for my brother to come back. But oh, there he is. So we're doing the I'm doing the seed stuff, and we're one day I call my brother and I'm like, hey, I got you a job trimming at Subcool's house. And he's like, what? And I was like, yeah. What I didn't realize is when my brother decided he was going to just move to Arizona in the middle of fucking nowhere, like, what are the chances that Subcool was going to move to Arizona and be that close to my brother? So I asked him, and he's like, well, hell yeah. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about the Arizona life and what goes on over there.
What about the Subcool story?
Yeah, tell them about like.
Well, yeah, I can talk about that for a few minutes. So I wasn't really like a big weed nerd or anything. I knew who Subcool was, and mostly through my brother, because like he kind of studied, the art of growing weed a little long after I did. Because the last time I grew weed was probably what, 2000. When did I move out of Massachusetts? 2015. I was growing plants up to about 2015, but I was just kind of doing it as like a hobby. I wasn't too big into it. I had my garden, but I knew Subcool was through Seth, and so I was kind of starting to become a weed nerd, I guess. He calls me up and he's literally like, "Hey, I got a job for you trimming at Subcool's house," and I was like, "Oh, word, that's crazy." All right. I was really nervous. And I showed up at Subcool's house, and, he just basically left the door unlocked for me, which was kind of weird. He's like, yeah, just come on in. The door's unlocked. So I walk in. I don't know any of these people. Never really communicated with them. I know my brother has, so like good, at least recommendation from him. And I walk in and he just was like, gave me a big hug and a handshake and was super nice. I mean, one of the nicest people he ever met, super hospitable. And he pretty much laid out the little pile that I'm supposed to trim. And he's like, and I'll pay you afterwards. I usually just pay you in weed. And I'm like, that's fine. So I'm trimming. They didn't really even show me how they wanted it done. Now I'm thinking this is Subcool, you know what I mean? So this has got to look like perfect. And after a couple of hours of trimming, he comes in and he's like, you don't have to go so tight, like just, most of the fan leaves are going to fall off anyway. But I'm nervous, like this is Subcool. So I'm trying to do an amazing job. And I'm like, why would you tell me that after I'm almost done? But and also he never told me that he had one of those little I forget what they're called, but it's like it has the rubbing alcohol in it. You kind of put the trimmers in there and kind of like clean the goop off them. So I'm sitting there with goopy ass trimmers trying to trim, and they're like sticking together. And so that was interesting. And that was the first time I trimmed, and it was like I said, super amazing people were around the house, and if I did ask a question, they would help me out. But ultimately, I just wanted to do a good job, and I guess I did a good enough job that he invited me over for a second try. So the second try, this is the funny story, in my opinion. So I'm about halfway done, and he comes up to me. Subcool comes up to me. He's like, "Hey man, I got to take off for a little bit." He's like, "Same thing as last time, you know. He's paying me in some weed, so he's like, just take whatever you want. Take your pay out of whatever you want." He shows me these big giant jars of cannabis. Right. This is the second time I've met this man. Second time. He leaves me alone in his house and tells me to take my own pay. And I'm like, okay, so that's nerve-wracking because I grew up in a time where like people would steal your shit, and I don't want to be responsible for that. So say I take my pay and I leave the house, and say one of those jars happens to be missing, or Subcool's a little too stoned and forgot that he maybe moved one to a different room or something. I don't know. So I don't want to touch his stuff, like that's the second time I met this guy, and I just don't want that responsibility. I don't want him to think if something's missing, then I'm the one that was last there to blame. So I finished my job, and it was kind of time to leave and supposed to take my payment. Luckily, he had one of his like regular house guests over. I'm going to leave her name out of it for this period of time, just because I don't want to use names in case they don't want their name being used. But I went over to her, we'll just say her, and I was like, "Hey, I've met Subcool twice. I super feel uncomfortable. He told me to take my payment. This is the amount he said I'm being paid. Can you do it for me?" And she was like, yeah, no problem. And I told her what I was supposed to get paid. And she's like, "How many grams is that?" And, I had to explain to her. And, so that was a thing. But like my whole point of the story is that's how comfortable he was, I guess, with the relationship that he had with my brother, that he was pretty much inviting a complete stranger into his house. This is when he had the pool going and jars that were like giant jars of weed everywhere, and told literally to take my own pay. I don't know how you guys feel, and I would like to see what you guys say in chat. I'm going to look at this later. But how would you feel if you were supposed to take your own pay when you're over at Subcool's on the second day that you met him? I mean, I don't know. I thought that was just like kind of almost crazy to me that he was that like open with like somebody that he just met. I mean, super hospitable and super amazing character person, awesome person. But I'm like, I was a little nervous to pay myself. Like, how would you guys feel? I mean, Seth, how would you feel? Or Eagle, even, how would you feel if you were at Subcool's house and he's like, take your pay, and then left, and then it's up to you to just make sure you took the right amount? I mean, obviously, we do the honor system, but what if something went awry and he misses a jar and I'm the last one to be around it? I don't want to be blamed for that. So I just like, I ain't touching it.
That's where I would have went. I would have waited. Fuck that. I can wait. I'll get you when you get back, man. That's where I think I would have with it myself. I'm with you.
My brother,
I don't know if I would have touched it.
My brother
I didn't touch none of it. Nothing.
My brother told me when he was trimming, he'd trimming Subcool's bud that there'd be a bunch of like Dabby's hair all in the bud and fucking Subcool's big, long, luscious locks all fucking wrapped around it and shit.
Yeah, that happened occasionally. There was a lot of buds I had to peel Subcool's hair out of it because that hair.
I kind
Subcool's
of feel like I threw my brother into a bunch of situations just because like
a
I
lot of
really,
situations. You
yeah,
really
because I
did.
wanted to,
Uncomfortably sometimes, but I did them all.
I wanted to help Subcool, but I'm like across the country and my brother's right there, Miranda Family Farms, Midwest chapter. So he's got thrown into the whole shit. So after Subcool got raided, I I had to have my brother go back over there like fresh after the raid. This is when everyone was nervous, including Subcool. Like the last place you wanted to go was to fucking Subcool's house right after the raid. But yet I had to have my brother go over there and actually give Subcool bud so he can have bud. And
No, I literally got over there when I did get there. They were scraping the keef off the bottom of those giant jars because the jars are empty now, but the keef was still there, and they didn't take the jars randomly. The house was trashed. I'll be honest with you. The house looked like it just got raided, but the jars were still there, and they're scraping the keef. So when I came over with actual flour, they were like, "Hell yeah!" It was Killer Grape, actually. That was the weed I brought. Love
yep.
Killer Grape. Good strain. Anyway, go ahead.
So Subcool, as we all know, like he had the Alpha 1 and couldn't really lift a lot of weight and stuff. So when the cops came and they cut all his plants down, they left the root balls in the pool. So I had to call my brother and be like, "Hey, I need you to go and help Subcool lift the root balls out of the pool." So I had to send my brother to go do that. And
You know what I did? I went over to the house and I asked him, I was like, "I'm going to come by and evaluate the situation," because he's like, "You're probably going to need friends to help." And those, I forget what size pots they were. They had to have been at least 10+ gallon pots. But he's like, "You're going to need like an army of people to move these things. They're super heavy." And that's when I realized how sick Subcool really was. Because when I went over there to move these pots, I mean, granted, they weren't wet. They were dried out a little bit. So that made them a little lighter. But he was saying I was going to need like a crane and all this stuff. And I was like, I could just lift this right out of the pool myself. So I'll just come by myself and do it. But yeah, it was like what, 50 pots. Oh, I don't know what size those pots were. But he thought they were so heavy I was going to need like a crane and an army of people to move him. And I'm like, man, this dude really is sick. Because yeah, they were like literally nothing to move as like a decently in shape person that's not sick. And I kind of felt bad for him at that moment. Realized he really couldn't do it. He thought those pots were super heavy. Anyway, yeah, that house was trashed. It was trashed. It was really sad to see too. The pool was just, you remember probably seeing videos and pictures of that pool. It looked nothing like what you guys remember seeing that pool look like. It looked like a disaster. It was a mess. It was sad. And yeah, that was nervous to do it too, because like my brother mentioned, nobody wanted to go over there. The place just got raided. So you don't want to be affiliated with that. Are they still watching? Are they watching who comes over after the fact? And, I actually brought somebody with me that didn't know much about Subcool, but I explained the process. And once we left, after evaluating what we needed to do, and we're going to come back the next day and fix it, they just was like flat out like, "I ain't going back there. Hell no." So I went back myself and did it. And I moved all of the root balls out. There was dollies and stuff. So really just picking it up out of the pool and then just dollying them out. So what I did is I made like stacks of pots. So I would pull a pot out, put it on the dolly, take another pot out, stack it on top of that pot on that dolly, and I would stack them up like 3 or 4 tall and then push them outside. So it wasn't like super heavy duty work. But like I said, that just made me realize how bad of condition Subcool was, because he still thought those pots were like 200 pounds each. And like I said, granted, they were dried out. They weren't super wet. They weren't like freshly watered, where I think they probably would have been extremely heavy. But yeah, it was a sad day.
I missed that fucker. Miss that fucker really bad. I don't know about you, Seth, but I fucking paced after that boss, man. I paced for at least a week and a half. I'm not really sure when after he died, I spoke with Will and Vicky. They said that investigation was still ongoing, and man, I just still have a few questions about all that shit.
Yeah, I actually called my brother again, and I was like, "All right, I
To the
know
rescue I come.
I need your help again." So after the raid, this is after the raid, after he gets the root balls out and everything. It's like, all right, now what? Now Subcool is like, he's got money in an IRA, but he can't get it right away. He's got no money. His
He was
current
trying to do that
girlfriend,
yard sale, remember?
yeah, he has a current girlfriend that needed a job. So I called my brother one day and I was like, I know you're working at the restaurant. Do you think you can talk to your boss and see if he can actually like hire Subcool's girlfriend to like so my brother did. He actually got Subcool's girl a
Yeah.
job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did. I'm not going to use names just because I don't want to use names in case those people don't want their names being used. But the girlfriend of Subcool at the time, I got her a job bartending at the restaurant that I was working for. And she super grateful Subcool was, because they didn't have an income anymore. They had no ties to any money, and she was at least able to bring home money right off the bat with the tips and whatnot. And like you mentioned, you know, Will and Vicky, they needed a place to talk too, because they weren't sure what was going on. They used my restaurant patio that we had on the restaurant. We'd have little meetings on there to just discuss like what the hell we're gonna freaking do, like what it was the next steps, along with Subcool's girlfriend at the time. So yeah, she got the job. I mean, I don't want to get into the story about what happened there, but it was short lived. But he was super grateful for that. And yeah, I mean, if I could do it, I'll do it. I don't care. I'm just helping out friends, in my opinion. At this point, Subcool did feel like my friend. We talked regularly on the phone, and we met up a bunch of times in between just doing work for him. And he was always super grateful, because I'm like, well, when do you want me to come back? And he's like, oh, you don't have to. And I'm like, dude, I understand that you're not like in good shape, so I'll come by and help. So he had me come do a couple more projects, such as his water filtration system, like that needed to be emptied and drained. And he couldn't do all those things. So I went and helped him again and helped him clean out his water, like, fix that water filtration system, and, a bunch of little odd jobs. And, he was always concerned, because at first I was getting paid to trim, and now he can't afford to pay me. And I'm like, I don't care. Don't worry about it. I'm just helping out. Like, I lived down the street. I literally it was like a 20-minute ride. It was on my way to work. So I just stop on my way to work, see if he needed any help with anything, and then be on my way. And he was always super grateful right to the very last moment. I was supposed to go over there for Christmas. Well, not directly on Christmas, because a lot of people weren't really around him so much because they were scared. And I was like, I felt bad that he'd be lonely for that holiday season. And I offered, I'll pop over and, just check on you and make sure you're all right. See if you need anything, smoke a little weed, so he was always grateful for those things. It was really my run-ins with Subcool, my what's the word I'm looking for? My interactions with Subcool, he was always just a super great host, always really excited to have company over, and he loves to fucking tell stories, just so you know. So if you ever got a chance to hang out with Subcool, I'm sure you got a chance to hear all his millions of stories. And he was like a rock star. Like he just had that like persona where he just was always he always had people around, but someone was always there. Even after I brought that killer grape to him, and I didn't have a lot, it was a fresh harvest and was barely even cured. Like right after I got there, I think it was like an hour and a half later, one of his other weed nerds came over and brought like a big jar for him. So like he was well. He didn't run out of weed for very long. I might have got him a jump start because they was scraping that keef off the jars, but like an hour later, he had jars of weed from fans and weed nerds. So yeah, he was Subcool. I guess I can't really say it any other way.
It
So
was
I might have,
definitely a
did I get off track
definitely
there? I'm sorry.
no. It was a hard time for all of us to like watch. Never mind him live through it, but us watching him live through all that and being from no, not like we weren't around to be able to help him. So like it was shitty for us to go through all that with him. So it was cool that you were able to be there and help out like a true weed nerd would.
There were other people that came by and helped too. Like I said, somebody right after I got there with the killer grape brought him a nice big jar. Like I only brought him a couple of little jars, and this guy was like, he brought him a nice jar. So they were good after that. And somebody else came in and helped take down the lights and stuff. I only dealt with the pots and the root balls and the water filtration systems and whatever he had going on.
Who's that
Somebody else
guy?
took down the lights and stuff.
Is that that's his old landlord taking the fucking pool room down, huh?
That's Tripod, right? That's
I don't
not
know who that is.
Tripod.
You can't tell.
And the girlfriend at the time, she did help me move a bunch of those root balls as well. So, I just want to throw that out there. Again, I'm not going to throw names out, but if you guys know the name, then you know the name. Other than that, I'm not going to use it. And I should also mention, after all of this happened, and I'm helping Subcool with that issue that he had, I had my own personal grow going on in my garage. And one day, this is like literally like a week after I was at Subcool's house doing that thing, and I'm outside and I got my garage door open. It's illegal still in Arizona at this point, but not past recreational yet. And even if you were medical, the law of growing was like you had to be pretty much living in the middle of nowhere to be able to grow. The medical law was ridiculous. So pretty much you couldn't grow here at all unless you lived in like, I don't know, middle of nowhere. So I got my garage door open because I'm doing something and the car pulls by and I see them turn around, come back again. And my tents are glowing. So I'm like, fuck. And I forgot to shut my garage at this point. So it's still glowing. And I see him drive by again. And so now I shut my garage and I stand out in front of my house or my garage and I watch him park the car up the street, get out of the car, walk past my house. As he walks past, I'm like, hey, what's up? And he's like, hey, what's up? He walks by again. He walks by again, gets in the car, drives around again. And I'm like, what the fuck is this guy doing? I bugged the hell out. I'm not going to lie. My plants were pretty close to done, maybe about a week away. I chopped them that night, dried them, shut everything the fuck down. Pretty much deleted 99% of my Instagram, because if you go on my Instagram at Tilasoil, you notice there's not a lot of posts. That's because I erased them all because I bugged the hell out after all that shit. And then I was like, my brother's like, when are you going to start growing again? I'm like, I don't know, pray that friggin' recreational goes legal in Arizona or else I ain't fucking with it. I'm bugged out. Arizona does not look like a place I want to go to prison at. So I was like, yeah, I'll just wait. And I literally shut my grow down for how long was it, Seth? A couple of years. I don't remember exact dates and times, but it feels like forever when you're not able to grow and you can't hear that humming of the fans and the soft electric glow of electric sex going on in your grow rooms. That's a reference to a Christmas Story, but figured I'd just throw it out there. Yeah, so it was a couple, what, at least a year and a half, 2 years. I don't know, but it was a long 2 years not to be able to grow a plant.
You know,
Bugged
when
out.
after Subcool got raided, it was paranoia set in, and then like I to the point where I called my brother and I was like, all right, you got to delete our fucking website. I don't even want that right now. We got rid of like all evidence of fucking anything online for the most part. I kept getting deleted on Instagram anyway, so I didn't have to delete any pictures. I just get my whole fucking Instagram deleted by haters and shit. I think they were Subcool haters too, which is fucked up.
As a software engineer, or at least a software engineering training, I built the Miranda Family Farms website where we were kind of like, mimicking the website that Subcool made. So, we were doing both. And yeah, we had to dump it. We deleted it because number one, the banks were giving us trouble. And number two, Subcool just got raided. So we didn't want any like connection with getting that and or more in trouble with that. Oh, and I should also mention at one point, because I do a lot of video game development, it wasn't really like an official thing through Subcool, but he was excited to see the results of the project. We were building a Subcool game, and it was like the Super Dank Brothers, which was like kind of like a Mario Brothers themed game, featuring Subcool and Kyle Cushman, because they were the Dank Brothers. And it was just a little prototype, and it was just for fun. It wasn't going to get released probably publicly unless Subcool wanted it, but just a little fun project. And he was on board with it. He was kind of interested in seeing how it would come out. He didn't really want any like financial ties to the game, but he was excited to see if it was going to be a cool game or fun to play. I thought it would be fun for the weed nerds and just interesting little tidbit of software engineering. Oh, and there's another game in progress that we were working on, but I think that's come to a halt too, just because of political reasons. We're just going to leave it as is. Maybe we'll resume it later.
Yeah, you got my heart thumping thinking about the bust.
Oh,
It was
man.
as you guys pointed out, man, that was a rough time for anybody that was in the circle at that time. Yeah,
Subcool
they
is
take your
paranoid.
phones, you take your shit, and you're in them books, them phones. You're part of the system there. I always thought that shit initially didn't stem from Arizona trouble. I kind of figured it started in Oklahoma there. One of the team members got in a little bit of trouble on the way back from Boston and Oklahoma. I figured that's where it all started and kind of trickled from there.
Which sucks because like I was at that Boston event and that was literally the last Subcool booth to ever friggin' go up while he was alive. And then it turned into what it turned into.
Probably one of his
You know what I mean?
best on the East Coast, one of his best.
So
we
that
did
kind
well
of
in
sucked.
Michigan. The event prior to that, we did pretty well here in Michigan.
Is Michigan considered East Coast
No, well, actually,
or
it was
Midwest?
funny because Seth came on right after I did, and he wanted me to take on the East Coast, and I was like, "Fuck that, dude! I got Michigan. How am I gonna take care of East Coast? I ain't got East Coast." And then Seth stepped in, and I was kind of like, "Woo, damn, that takes a lot of fucking worry off my ass." But yeah, I was definitely glad to see Seth come in on the team at that point.
He had a nice crew going for a little bit there at the end. There was a few of us that were doing that for him. And he was very, very paranoid at the end.
We all were, dude. Trust me. If you were at ground zero, you were paranoid.
Like even talking to Subcool, he wanted you to call him through that encrypted thing. For all you people that don't fucking know, Subcool said it. Like these motherfuckers can look at all of your DMs, all of your shit. The man knows. So keep your shit tight.
And those encryption methods do work. I'm not sure how they work as far as like for like Instagram messaging and whatnot. I remember you telling me about that like app that can encrypt, but yeah, if you get a simple, even if it's just like a 128-bit encryption key, like that would take so long to break. Like 256-bit encryption literally would take every supercomputer in the entire world known to man right now a billion years to pretty much decrypt. You can look that up. It's ridiculous. So yeah, that's a definite safety precaution as long as you can do it. Like nobody other than the exchange of the two keys can have that information. It's what the banks use and all that stuff.
So, like a couple of years goes by, and I kind of just recently had to reach out to my brother again because you guys might be familiar with Soil King. He's our unofficial father. So that's Pops right there, and he ended up getting a house in Arizona. So I had my brother go over there because they had a housewarming party. So I had to have my brother get up all in the mix. But what was cool is when I went to go visit my brother actually it was in like April. We went to the Earl Cup. Um, Come to find out, Cannabis Mom, which is a weed nerd, lives right in my brother's neighborhood. So we set it up before I got there for us to go and check her out and chill. She's the one that has Subcool's dog Dabby. So we got to go play with Dabby for the day, which is really cool. Like, what are the chances that like my brother like worked right next to where Subcool lived, and that where his house is, friggin' Dabby lives right down the road now.
Yeah, Dabby's my neighbor. She literally lives 5 minutes down the road from me, and so anytime I want to go see Dabby, right down the street. And Cannabis Mom is always super welcoming and like amazing. Big shout out to Cannabis Mom. Actually, she's a really really good person. Um, yeah, so right down the street, Dabby the dog is there. Neighbors, we can go play fetch whenever we want. Friends with my dogs, and it's a really cool, it's a really cool situation to kind of be in, where like those kind of memories literally now are being able to be right down the street. And, you know, for my brother to be able to come down and at least get to see Dabby, that was actually really cool. You can actually check out some of the pictures on my Instagram, and I think they're on his Instagram as well. So at Tilasoil or at Marine Family Farms. And Dabby is loved there, just so everybody knows. Very good hands.
Yep, and Toke went to Miss Jill, and he's being treated nicely over there. So the dogs are definitely well taken care of.
I mean, nothing but big smiles from that puppy when I go to see. Right down the street. It's crazy. This really is. Oh, and yeah, the housewarming party with Pops, I guess we'll call him. Soil King. Yeah, it's crazy because he literally moved the restaurant that I've been working at while I've been finishing up my software degree is literally not even a half a mile away from his house. So his girlfriend and Cannabis Mom, they all came out to the restaurant to have pizza over at my place. And, we had a good time over there. And they invited me to their housewarming party because Soil King was moving in. And I'll be honest with you, that motherfucker parties like that. That was a crazy party. I've never seen so much goddamn weed getting smoked in my life. I was, it was a lot of weed. And he was a very good entertainer too. I had a good time over there. Me and the wife didn't really know anybody, and we went over, and so kind of felt a little uncomfortable. We only knew Amy. We only knew Cannabis Mom, and I've never met Soil King before. So, I felt very out of place at first, but I'd say about maybe a half an hour, 20 minutes in, I felt like I was at home hanging out with my boys. Like I've known these people my whole life. We are like, actually, all right, we just popped in, we're about to leave. And somebody turns around and was like, guys are leaving. And they started throwing joints at us and t-shirts. And we're like, all right, I guess we're coming back in. We're gonna smoke. And next thing I know, I'm not going to use names, but this guy's just showing me all this weed that he grows, some sun-grown Cali bud, and he's got all these like beautiful, beautiful nugs, and we just pass joints around till I don't know, you can't pass joints around anymore, which is days later, but I didn't stay that long.
You know what's kind of cool is like I haven't met a dickhead weed nerd. Well, actually, there's one dickhead weed nerd that I met. Other than that, like cannabis mom or something like that living in your neighborhood, like, or like seeing people at events, like martial artists driving all the way to fucking Michigan to get chill with Eagle and shit. Like, you get some fucking pretty badass weed nerds that all look out for each other. And that's what DOA was all about. He was looking for that like group of people that are like-minded and embrace the weed nerd lifestyle, and it really is all about helping
I should
others.
bring up this story about cannabis mom. So my brother's flying out, and I got no goddamn weed at the time. So I called up cannabis mom and I'm like, dude, I'm in a spot, I'm in a pickle. Can you help me out till at least the dispensary's open, and I'll grab myself some stuff and I'll pay you back. Can you just throw me like a joint so my brother can land and I can smoke with him as soon as he gets off the plane? And she's like, oh my God, yeah, come on over. And she didn't give me no goddamn joint. She gave me a bag of weed. Like, and I don't mean a small bag of weed. She gave me a bag of weed. And I was like, oh man, what do you want for this? She's like, nothing. You're a weed nerd. Like, just, it's yours. Like, this, just have it. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And this is the first time I met cannabis mom, um, you know, and she was just super excited to have us over and hang out, meet Dabby and smoke us up. And yeah, so my brother was able to land the plane. Uh, I picked him up at the airport and I had a bag of weed to smoke with him, thanks to her, like just being a weed nerd and looking out for other weed nerds. And she never asked to get paid back. But you know what? We always pay each other back, because when she's in need, guess who's going to get her back? Us, weed nerds. So absolutely.
And as a weed nerd, I needed that bag of weed the second I got off the plane.
Yeah,
When he had
he's back problems. Imagine being on a plane that long without weed.
it's just like a fucking 3-hour flight, and somehow I was like dying for weed.
Well, with back problems, sitting on a plane, trust me, without back problems and sitting on a plane, my back hurts. So I could only imagine. So I was like, yes, I will find you some weed, or else I will hit the first dispensary we find. We didn't need to do that, because taken care of by the Weed Nerd Nation. Thank you.
All these Subcool stories got me fucking weirded. He's a good
That's
friend,
why
man. I actually miss that fucker a lot.
I keep Subcool growing in my garden, whether it's indoor or out, every year. It's fucking amazing. Any seeds that I make have something Subcool related in it, and always will.
Well, Eagle, if you ever come out to Arizona, my neighbors is Dabby the dog, so it might be the closest thing you can get to Subcool at this point. But Dabby's there waiting for all the loves and hugs that she can get. Trust me, she might lick your face a lot, and
and she loves to play tug of war, like nonstop.
But trust me, Cannabis Mom is amazing, and if you ever in this area, you can totally get to meet the dog. It's like a little mini spirit of Subcool. At least I feel like she carries on the tradition, being just super amazing and just happy. I mean, like the happiest dog I've ever seen in my life. It's probably from all them damn dabs.
You remember when Dabby got a hold of Subcool's cookie on the fucking nightstand next to his bed? And then Dabby was laid out for like 3 days. Do you remember that, Eagle?
Yeah. Fucking that dog fucking. Yeah, I remember actually more over the Toke. I had a conversation with him when he was just moving into the RV there about what he was gonna do with Toke, about giving him to Jill, and it was a heart-wrenching choice for him to want to give that dog up. He knew he couldn't necessarily drag Toke around in that RV.
You know, that was a whole nother thing is so after Subcool passed away, they're like, all right, so what the fuck are we gonna do with the dogs? You know what I mean? So
Guess who gets a phone call?
fucking Tilasoil gets a phone call because they had the dog at a spot that the dog wasn't being taken care of properly. And that's not cool at all. So my brother was gonna take the dog until they can find a spot for it. And but then they ended up finding homes, permanent homes.
I didn't have to, but the phone call definitely happened, and I'm actually kind of happy it didn't happen because I love dogs. Okay, I just found a dog in my neighborhood. What it was, you could probably find it on Instagram, whatever day it was, maybe a month ago, and that dog is now our dog. It was a homeless dog, and so if I had to watch or babysit a dog while it was just getting rehomed, I would have fell in love, and the dog would have just broke my heart when he or she had to leave. So I'm kind of glad that I didn't have to do that, but I was more than willing to. I pretty much gave the consent that if that needs to happen, I will definitely take care of that till it needs to be. But like I said, glad I didn't have to deal with that because I have attachment issues, and I would have fell in love with the dogs, and they would have just probably, hopefully, have stayed with me. But
Those dogs turned into drama too because behind the scenes there was people fiending to take those dogs, and they were trying to get the dogs because it would bring them fame from being Subcool's fucking dogs. So there was fights going on behind the scenes over fucking Subcool's dogs, which is
I can
crazy.
attest to that because when I was asked if I could hold those dogs for a period of time, it was because I had a secluded location. My profile was very negative, very minimal at the time, so it was considered a safe place. And so that was one of the requirements, like, don't let anybody know that these dogs are even here, because people did want those dogs, like, for personal gain or whatever. I'm glad it didn't have to come to any part of me having to take the dogs, because like I don't know if I could have gave them up after a couple of weeks. So thank God that they got great homes, and Cannabis Mom doing a great job. That dog is super happy there. Dabby's super happy with her, and um, Toki's super happy where he is, and I think that's just where they need to be. So it worked out great.
You know what was kind of cool is like there wasn't people in the area to help Subcool get his root balls out of the pool, or there was, but not many. But like when he was moving,
Does this bring you back right here, Jeremiah? That's the picture. My phone's all busted
It's
up.
super blurry. Pull it away a little bit. Pull back.
Here,
Yeah.
let me spotlight it for you.
Yeah, it's a little blurry, but I already know what it is. I can see it. It was trashed. It was literally just, when I walked into that house after the raid, everything was a mess.
This is the text from Sub that day. This is a picture of what was left of the garden.
It's hard
It
to
says,
see, but it was bad. Yeah.
He actually shows me, this is a picture right here of the charges. The charges they gave him that day.
Yeah. He showed me
And
all
then
that stuff. Trust me, he's open with his stuff if he feels comfortable with you.
fucking he says, man, we're looking at the Rico, and I'm like, fuck.
The house
it
looked like
was
basically a steamroller just went through with just smashed everything around. Like there was just broken glass, and I
Those
mean,
charges were serious. Like Eagle was just saying, we all seen
Jesus.
those, and
Took my car, my truck, call me, call morning, took back and said Drake on it. All my stuff, hats, plaid, left us nothing. Our phones, took our computer, took our meds, looking at Rico. I say, fuck, oh, fuck. Pretty scary, I'd say. And then it goes into this like personal bullshit after that. But yeah, I keep this phone, this busted up phone, just because it has all my sub messages on it, or a lot of my memories of him with him. I actually keep both of these phones because they're tied back with him. As you were talking, I was looking over the messages on this phone here of wait, these were the last days before he passed. He's showing me the RV, my new home, you know, fucking, it was fucked up, man. I really miss fucking Sub.
you know, a
yeah,
lot of
Doing
people
quite a
stepped
bit.
up too. A lot of people stepped up to tell Subcool, like, because remember when he was going in the RV, he's like, well, where the fuck am I gonna park it now? He was looking for different places to park it. I think at one point he was even gonna drive it all the way to Mass to Charlie's farm there. Like he was open to suggestions, but he really had no idea where the fuck he was gonna park that shit. And it sucked to watch. It was horrible. But at least the faithful you stayed with him to the end. We were there watching, being right there with him. So he wasn't alone
Dude,
as much as he
I can
thought.
show you, even on this one, man, I texted all of the phones, Instagram. I called several times that day. Even though I knew I had heard the news, I bet you I called this phone probably fucking 10, 15 fucking times that day. I didn't want to fucking believe it. I almost fucking shut down completely. I don't fucking sitting here with all the shit that he gave me over the fucking years, fucking growing out his gears, mentor, fucking friend.
yeah,
And
Eagle. So
man, I
imagine
was
if,
lost without the fucking nightly fucking sessions with him. And it was hard, man. Him walking out of that house looking at the fucking weed nerd on them knuckles, that tattoo he had across them fucking knuckles was crushing for him towards the end. He didn't think he was gonna ever be able to regroup, be the persona as we knew as the fucking weed nerd, Subcool. You know, he put a lot into that. He put his heart and soul into the whole fucking weed nerd community, and he thought it was gonna fucking, that was gonna be the end of it. Walking out of that house, and it was a shame to see, even towards the fucking last 3 days there before his death, as he was pulling into that RV, there was still people close to him fucking turning their backs on him. Fucking, yeah,
You know what's
yeah,
cool though?
like
we
talking to
tried
the
never to
dark.
turn our backs on him at all. Like we tried to stay friends to the end, and even like you said, Eagle, like it was kind of hard at some points because you're like nervous, like this dude just got busted with some crazy shit. So like I said, I shut my Instagram down, I cleaned out my garage, and pretty much shut down everything for about a year and a half plus. So
But if it wasn't for Subcool, we wouldn't even fucking be here right now. I wouldn't know who Eagle is. I wouldn't know who the people in the chat are. I wouldn't even know who the fuck weed nerds are in general. He made a group of weed nerds that fucking, even though he's gone, we're still here, living kind of because chilling all literally because of him, which is fucking pretty
That's no
cool.
lie.
Yeah,
That's
Eagle.
huge. You know, I was thinking about that the other day, actually. I had a weird moment. I was working in the garden and a song called I Am Mountain came on. And it just had that vibe of something you'd, I just got thinking about it, but it just had that fucking vibe of like something that he would play in the beginning of one of the fucking weed nerds as it was coming on. And I just had this feeling like he played it, and I fucking needed to fucking have that. But I was like, man, you'd be so proud to fucking see, you know, the legacy that you've left behind, the people that you actually fucking affected. I think, you know, at some point he might have even questioned it towards the end, how much he had actually did, how much people actually fucking gave a fuck. But man, I think today, seeing that 2 years later, we're still having this conversation and fucking trying to keep the whole weed nerd community alive, his persona, his memory, fucking, he would be fucking just smiling ear to ear, knowing that he touched us all as much as he did. That's for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate this show. I mean, I don't pop on enough, but that's just because I'm usually busy. But, you know, it's really great to just see that the traditions are being carried on, and, you know, there's still like a little community going on, and it's not gotten smaller. If anything, it's hopefully gotten bigger. Um, you know, so that's really good. And thank you, Eagle, for that. The opportunity for us even to be on this show and just talk about these stories, because without this platform, this story might never have not got told, you know, like the Miranda family farms and the Tilasoil, like, you know, you never know. Like, it's just, I feel like I have that many friends, and just to find out there's a weed nerd living in my neighborhood, like literally 5 minutes down the road, that if I like just run out of bud, like, hey, can you help me out? And no questions asked. Here you go. Come on over. Like, that's just amazing. And like I said, I've never met this person in my life, Cannabis Mom. I won't use her first name because just I think that's respectable if she doesn't want it to be known. But, you know, just finding out that there's somebody down the street that's willing to help, and I'm watching all the people coming to help Subcool when he needed help. You know, that was cool to see. I met some probably really cool people that I probably didn't even realize that I met when I was over there after that incident. Because those were definitely some of his really good friends.
You know, following Subcool, and then like reading about him and watching him on things and stuff, to being able to like call him and stuff was like fucking
Rock star.
Yeah, it
Did you not
like,
get out, hang up that phone and kind of feel like you just talked to somebody in Hollywood or something like that, or even
exactly.
like that day or the next day?
But because of him, I would have never have been able to call Jenny or Miss Jill or the fucking whole crew. Like, so that's like really cool because of Subcool left. He left, but he left us all together and like connected and stuff. So like talking to like Miss Jill, because like we're good friends now. And her telling stories about like Subcool. He was a fucking goofball. Subcool was a big goofball. He wanted to be the guy that stood out in the crowd,
And he did.
center of attention.
And he was.
She'll be coming on telling her story here in the next few weeks.
Cool, Miss Jill.
I had intended her to come on before the surgery, but the surgery kind of postponed things. So I've been in touch with her, and as soon as she feels a little bit better and can get around a little bit more, she says she's going to be on and do an episode with us. Looking forward to hearing her side of the story, the weed nerd story. Not just that, but hearing her story in general. You know, you can't take that away from her. You know, she was a established grower before she met Sub, so it'd be nice to hear her start, her beginning right up through Sub to today. So I mean,
I don't think there's anybody that would know more than her.
Yeah, it was kind of sucked because we all had to live through the division too. And
That shit divided the weed nerds.
that
Fucking
divided
big
hard.
time.
I
Holy
remember.
shit.
I remember Eagle
Even
was
in the
not a
end.
happy camp. You weren't a happy camper when you went from TGA Eagle to just Eagle. Remember that?
No, I was not. And you know what? That's where I'll let you in a little secret if you didn't know this. That's where the Weed Nerd Misfits come from. That's where the Weed Nerd Misfits come from. Was me going, I'm not standing for this. I'm not here nor there. I'm in between. I'm a fucking weed nerd, damn it. And
Yeah.
that's where the Misfits came from. I
Nobody
used
wants
it
to
in the
choose
term.
sides.
I used it in the chat for a fucking while, and he fucking ended up seeing it and going, I like that. You can watch it. It's like a December episode right before Christmas. Him and Will are on there. And he goes, I like that. I like that. And it went from that to the Misfit Sundays.
Dr. Monty.
Fuck it.
Dr. Monty.
You guys remember Dr. Monty's anal lube? His little fucking commercials he was making and shit? Goofing around.
Butt plungers.
Yeah.
The bag of dicks.
Oh,
No
shit.
subject was
Someone
taboo
asked him
about it.
before. Someone asked him, because there's always new people coming on the fucking, on his, watching him and stuff. And I think he's just answered so many of the same fucking questions over and over again. You remember someone was like, hey, Subcool, do you grow in super soil? And we all were waiting for it.
Google that shit.
We all knew he was going to blow the fuck up on him. He's like, no, I grow in fucking monkey dicks, and started fucking wigging out on the dude.
Oh, yeah.
He was a fucking character.
But the thing is, though, if you asked him a good, solid question, he loved to answer it. But yeah, I mean, I train people too, and I'm kind of sick of the same questions. And if you can just go on Google and search the question, then why are you asking me? Because it took the same, if not more, effort just to just Google the question. So we tell a lot of our new growers that we try and teach, like, I don't know, go check out Grow Eat Easy, watch YouTube. Like, there's so many platforms that'll teach you the basic beginners. Like, don't come with me with a basic beginner question. There's so many variables when you're growing. You know, me and my brother, we kind of stick to a very simplified version. We literally just add water. Like, I hate to say it, like, people even question me. I was at the Soil King party, and I'm talking to some like big wig grower there. You know, they got some commercial on an NFL network for Arizona, and they're like, what was it, the Zonka bars? Who was the man who was behind Zonka bars? But he's, you know, they're all discussing it, and I'm like, yeah, I just add water. Like, do you just add water? You don't do anything else? And I'm like, yeah, I use big roots and just add water. I'm a simple grower. I mean, I could maybe get some more production out of doing this, that, and the other thing. But for me, I'm busy with school work and kids and family. I don't have time to like monitor all those like regimens. So I just simplified it to just add water. It's kind of our motto. And it's a lot easier to do diagnoses too. So say you got some bad effects growing with your plants, and like now you have to be like, well, did I add too much of this or not enough of that? And if you just add in water, you know, then maybe you're just not watering properly. So beginner growers, I'm just like, just add water and figure that part out first, and then after that you can add some, you know, techniques that might be different, and add them slowly, one by one. Don't go run off and get the Fox Farm line up and start dumping it all in there and think you know what you're doing. Or, you know, just start simple, and as you get that and you get good results, try something new and test it, and if it works, do it again. If it didn't work, don't do it again. Or, you know, so I'm not going against anybody else's beliefs in how they grow, but I feel keep it simple. The simpler it is, the easier it is. You're going to get good results either way. I mean, we can all do the math and say, well, you're going to get 0.5% better yield for this, and, you know, better this and that and the other thing for using that. But a lot of it's minor. And unless you're growing the same strain over and over again and document exactly the results you're getting, I mean, it's kind of hard to really test these things like super thoroughly. I'm not saying they don't work. I'm just saying, start simple and then add new ideas later on to see if you're getting a better or worse result. Because I've had both, you know. But one thing I could say is just keeping it as simple as possible. I've always had a positive result. I've never had a bad grow, just pretty much adding water. In the last few cycles I ran through, I literally didn't even pH my water. I did the most bare minimum as possible, almost as a test to my own self to see how little effort do I need to get a good result. And I found, for me, it wasn't that much different. I had a good base soil. Preferably, I use big roots. Sometimes I can't get that because, well, hopefully now that Soil Kings and AZ, it should be here soon. But yeah, good base soil like big roots. I shouldn't say don't pH my water. I'll pH my water like maybe a couple times a year just to make sure that it's like still on par. But it doesn't change much, and that's a good thing anyway if it changes slightly. As far as nutrient lines, I don't use any. I'll add maybe some earthworm castings halfway through a potting cycle. So if I'm in 1.75s, I'll finish off the second half of it with top dressing with a little bit of earthworm castings, maybe like a earthworm tea. And when I mean an earthworm tea for me, I just do the old gallon jug and shake it method, sit it out for an hour and shake it again one more time. Like I don't bubble it or, and it's fine. I haven't had any issues. I used to add molasses. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Never really noticed much of a difference for me. To each their own, but my method is super casual, super simple, and I have pretty good results, in my opinion.
Have you guys ever teamed up on a grow?
Years ago, a long time ago.
Yeah.
It's been years. We've been living in separate states for a good portion of our adult life, so I'll let my brother talk about it a little bit, but let's see, like in the 90s, I got in trouble soon off, so I kind of had to flee Jersey. I lived out there. I didn't really grow in Jersey because I was living in cities and I didn't have anywhere to grow. And indoors weren't an option for me. Outdoors weren't an option for me. I finally got back to Massachusetts and I did grow a little bit out there. My brother did help me with those. But it was only again for a few years and then I'm off to Arizona. So unfortunately, not enough. I wished we got a chance to do more together. Just we lived in separate states for a long time. But yeah, you could talk about what we did.
When we first started growing, we were growing together and it was illegal and we were kids and there wasn't an open spot to grow in. So we were trying to find all these fucking different areas that we can grow in. We also didn't have access to, there was no internet. There was no one to ask. There was no.
Oh, we had High Times magazine.
They had High Times magazines were like buying like a fucking porno mag as a kid. Like we weren't allowed to buy those neither. So they were hard to get. You know what I mean? So we tried experimenting, like fucking watering the fucking plants with bong water, thinking it would just.
Yeah, we did that.
Trying to see if that would increase the potency and shit. And like all it did was make a moldy fucking rotten dead plant. Like all kinds of stupid shit.
Don't
like,
water it with bong water, please.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Don't water it with the bong water.
But we did experiment. We tried it out. It did not work.
We grew plants in my mom's house. We started them off in like the windowsill. My mom was like, "Get rid of the fucking thing."
We started off in the closet. Remember, we tried tin foil. By the way, don't use tin foil to line your grow room. But we heard that you need reflective, so tin foil was the first thing that came to our mind. We're like teenagers and no internet again, so like tin foil is bad. But we tried it. Guess what it did? It fried our plants. Yeah.
And then we did the windowsill one, and my mom was like, "Get rid of the fucking thing." So instead, we kept growing it, and it got so big we had to put it on the floor, and it grew up to damn near the ceiling. And I was at work one day, and I remember my brother calling. He actually cried because my mom came home and fucking crushed our plant, and it was like a big prized plant, the biggest one we ever grew. It was our like first real indoor plant. That was the last time I actually grew indoor because everything was outside until
Yeah, that was the last indoor for a
yeah.
long time. And we had
You
no idea what we were doing at all. We had no idea. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't live in like fucking Humboldt County where we had like 8 generations growing in the woods. We lived in fucking Plymouth, Massachusetts, where there was no growing anything and a bunch of dirt bags.
We had like there wasn't really access to seeds then either. And like I said, most of it was brickweed. Kind bud was just starting to get around, but I think it was after our experiments to growing together because we'd moved apart at that point. But you know, the actual, not all brickweed, I can't say was all brown garbage. Like at one point, some of the brickweed we were getting was beautiful and green and had purple fucking hues to it and was maybe like a couple of seeds per pound. And those were the seeds that we did try and grow a couple of times after, but you know, those were all outdoor, and we still didn't really know what we were doing. You know, we didn't top and train at that point. We didn't know about that. So we were growing the Christmas trees and, you know, the bud actually came out good. It was actually pretty good, but it really wasn't until I think like after my prison sentence, basically, and I was kind of free. I had no warrants. I had no, you know, I could kind of do whatever I wanted, even though growing weed was still highly illegal at the time. I kind of started working with another dude who was growing some fire fresh indoors. He was a caregiver, and overflow pretty much went to me. And
What the
so
fuck is going on? And you got wit.
I'm outside smoking.
Oh,
It's probably coyotes. I don't know. Why, you can hear that shit?
yeah.
Oh, my bad if it's distracting. I'll go in a minute after my cigarette. So where was
I
I?
thought it
Oh,
was kind of funny, to be honest with you. Gave it a little ambience and shit. Huh? Makes you
that's
sit up and
Arizona.
go, huh?
Luckily, all the dogs in the neighborhood are sleeping, or else there'd just be a howl fest right now. Like every dog in the neighborhood would be just going at the same time in unison, like "Ooh, ooh," like just surround sound, like hundreds of neighborhoods apart. This is Arizona. Like sound travels because there's nothing in between us. It's just flat, nothing to block. There's no. Damn, that is loud. But anyway, so this caregiver I was like doing some moves for on the sly, and he was growing fantastic indoors. I think it was like MK Ultra was one of his famous strain or favorite strains, I should say. And there was Holy Grail, that was another good one. And you know, every once in a while you'd find that seed. So I saved up a bunch of them, and me and my brother grew those out before I got a chance to leave before I left for Arizona. I never actually got to finish that harvest, unfortunately, because of my moving date was October 10th, and they weren't ready yet. So I never got to taste that. Yeah, MK Ultra, Holy Grail. What were the other strains? Do you remember the other ones? I know those two names, those ones definitely, but there was 4 more or 3 more. I can't remember. And they were just bag seeds. But, you know, once we called the males, I think we were left with 7 females, 1 of each. And again, I don't know, did we top and train? No, we didn't top and train. We were just like kind of guerrilla grow outdoor Christmas trees because you couldn't really set up a trellis in the middle of nowhere. So
You guys plan on working together in the future in some kind of grow? Maybe moving closer, actually putting together a farm? That'd be cool to see. a big old, classical Miranda family
Yeah.
farm sign in the front yard and shit, and
Yeah. That,
have it be a
it's all gonna
legacy.
it's all gonna depend on my brother's because his work, depending on if they accept the background check, they relocate you. So most of the relocations are on the East Coast. So he might not live in my state, but he might live close enough that it's within car travel, because driving from fucking Massachusetts to Arizona is not good on my back or the fucking car or anything. It sucks.
And
So
just
like,
airfare gets expensive too, so it's really hard. Like, I actually haven't seen my brother in person other than that trip he came out in April for that Earl Cup in Phoenix. That was the last time and the first time I've seen him in person in multiple years. Like you said, the relocation, don't get a choice if this company hires me, because they relocate you. Most of them are on the Upper East Coast, which is good news, but that's only 80%. So there's still a 20% chance they can put me in like Seattle. And I don't get a chance to decide it's contract work. If I breach the contract, it's like a $35,000 penalty, because they pay for a lot of certifications and training. So they don't mess around. And it's a good company. And trust me, within short time, I'll be making six figures. So it'll be great. And that can obviously help boost our startup. So, it just really depends on where they relocate me. And if this doesn't work out, I'm thinking about just moving closer back to the East Coast anyway. Just because, like, I do want to move. I have kids and I have a huge family out there. Miranda Family Farms is, that's just the name we have on a whole giant Miranda family. Like, there's cousins and nephews and nieces and grandparents and all kinds of things that my kids are missing out on being out here all by myself, where the whole family's basically up there.
I'm gonna have to bring my dog out, and so I'm gonna kind of hop off now. But I want to hop on the wormhole if there's one after, and then do a seed giveaway. But I gotta bring my dog out, and it's gonna fuck everything up now. So might chime off in a minute.
Yeah, I think for me it's getting kind of late here. I can kind of wrap up soon and maybe let you guys get to the wormhole. And I have kind of a big week upcoming. I know it's the holidays, so eases it a little bit, but it's just a lot of sitting around and waiting and wondering if this is going to go through. But yeah, unless there's some questions that we want to go
and again, I'm glad that you came and finally did your time. I know you were trying to pop on and give away some seeds one day. Yeah, I think some people just don't understand the process. But
yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, my apologies for that. I
it,
just was trying to be
well,
a
no
friend to
worries.
people.
It's my selfish way of like, see, if I did it like fucking some other people do it, it would be hard to do this night after night. So I kind of use the weed nerd world kind of thing as an enticement for Mr. It happened the other night to Mr. Toad. He wanted to pop on, and I'm like, nah. So you know what I mean? Every time I do that, that helps build another night. You know what I mean? Of hanging out, more fucking stories. So that's the kind of the purpose of doing this before you can get to that. It helps build everything as we go along. So I'm stoked that you were able to take the time, hang out, tell you guys a story. It's been a fucking awesome night. You guys have a hell of a story. Very entertaining, man. Fucking chat has loved it. Fuck for a Tuesday night. Fucking there's 78 watching still right now at
That's pretty
2:22
Oh yeah,
cool.
Eastern
I,
we're in a
Standard
family
Time.
farm.
So
Love weed
I was
nerds.
I was planning on keeping an eye on the chat, but like honestly, this conversation has been fun, so I haven't actually paid attention to the chat like I was planning to, because I was thinking maybe answer some questions if anybody had any or feed off the stories going on in chat. But yeah, I don't know, just spitballing this one off the brain went pretty good. So I
Thank
wouldn't
you
mind
guys
doing
for
another
tuning
show.
in.
There's more stories to tell. There's plenty more. Just that's the tip of the iceberg, really. Like that's the base
I'm glad
core
you had
story.
fun because I pre-show you were like, so what's it gonna be like? And I'm like, just son
Go
beat me
with the
to it. Just
flow.
roll with it, son. That's the way we do it. Just roll with it.
Yeah, I've done many Zoom meetings for like my programming and software and video game development. So like it's a platform I'm very familiar with, but I've only, watched a handful of your shows, some of the bigger ones that like when Mendo Dope was on and, when Miss Jill was on and, when my brother's on, and I'll catch a few here and there, but, it just happens to land at a time that I'm usually doing like something else. So, try and pop in and let everybody say hey, and shout outs to like certain friends that I know in the chat, like Johnny Canacita and whatnot, um whoever else is out there. I miss DOA, that dude. I always had a blast listening to him. Those were some of my favorite shows. He was always a good entertaining guy to talk to.
Well, glad you guys tuned in and watched and listened to our stupid stories. Hope you guys come and join in on the weed nerd world. Maybe win yourself some seeds. Watch me get insane in the membrane. And I'm gonna peace on out. And I will see you guys on the flip side.
You're gonna at least stay for the the sound bite. First of all, just
yeah.
real quick. Jeremiah, now that you've done the spotlight episode, now you're welcome for any weed nerd world. So the Zoom link that I don't know if I sent you it, but either way, it's the same link
Yeah, you sent an
always.
email. Yeah.
It's always the same link for Weed Nerd World. So anytime you see one now, no hesitation. You can pop on, fucking smoke down, fucking tell some stories. You're more than welcome. And again, thank you for personally introducing yourself tonight. I can't thank you enough. So hopefully you do pop on. You don't have to pop on, just give away seeds. You can just pop on just for the fuck of it, brother. Don't feel obligated to give shit away. But uh, you know, I just wanted to throw that out there, make that known. And the other thing, like I said before you guys go, I'd like to get the sound bite from you. Basically, my version, as long as it's got something this in the body of it, I'm looking for. Hey, this is Eagle. I'm on fucking Talking Shit with Eagle, episode 529. You guys can put whatever you want before that or after that, as long as it's got that in the flow. You can say whatever the fuck you want. It's your sound bite. I'm ready anytime you guys are. Please.
You want you doing it first or me?
I'll go ahead. Sure. So, wait, how do I go? Hey, this is hold on, give me a second. Let me work on this. Hey, this is Tilasoil talking shit with Eagle. Episode. Wait, what episode are we in?
529.
529. 529. Thank you guys for watching. Hope it was entertaining.
We're Filling Farms. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys had fun. Peace.
Thank you guys. I love the teamwork on that sound bite, man. That's some brotherly love right there.
Was that
Thank you
good?
guys
Should we
very
redo it?
much. That was a good one. That was a good one, guys.
All right.
So thank you guys for your time. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys aren't gonna tune in for the Weed Nerd World, then thank you very much. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow night at 11:30. But those of you that are gonna come hang out in Weed Nerd World, stretch your feet, empty your bladder, fill your tray, and remember, random acts of kindness do save lives. I'll see you guys in a few. Thanks, guys. I'll see you in a minute.